WESH-2, this is continuing coverage of Ian.
Welcome back. We are continuing to track Hurricane Ian. Take a look at your screen. Throughout our area and throughout our state, we are seeing the devastating aftermath of this powerful, powerful storm. And it is not even out of our area yet. Stuart, we have seen just communities changed by this. Yes. And this was at the height of the storm. You could see the winds were whipping and the flooding is the aftermath. And today, as our crews are out there assessing the damage, it is hard for them to even get to certain places.
WESH-2's Volusia County Bureau reporter Claire Metz was there as buildings were literally falling apart by the high winds and the heavy surf and the rain that was storming through that area. In studio, we have with us today WESH-2 Summer Knowles has a look at some of that damage in some of Volusia County areas, some of them just devastated.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's all flood water. So I want to take you to New Smyrna Beach. Let's go ahead and roll some of the video that we've been getting in from viewers and some pictures that we've been taking ourselves. You know, more strong, angry waves crashing about. This is on New Smyrna Beach. You might expect this along the beach during a hurricane, right? But you don't necessarily expect all that water to make it too far inland, but we see it. You hear the fire alarms in one building going off in the middle of the night. Video of what appears to be a parking garage with what looks like several inches of rain. That's at the Ocean Walk condos on South Atlantic Avenue. And then multiple photos just showing the extent of some of the flood damage throughout New Smyrna Beach. Some of it from balconies, some of it from the ground level. Again, this is just your visual reminder of why county leaders want you to stay put and to stay indoors, because there's really no telling what the water could be covering up, whether it's sinkholes or snakes, you name it, it could be under there. So they really want people to just stay indoors. And if you can safely take video or pictures, then of course we'd love to have them, send them over to us, but we don't want you venturing out to get it for us. But guys, that was a look at New Smyrna Beach, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that throughout Central Florida for a while.
Summer, thanks so much. And that devastating surf continues to pound our coastline.
Yeah, it really does. And so we're bringing in our team of meteorologists. Alex, we still have some warnings in effect and some that were just issued again today.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, as the National Hurricane Center expects Ian to strengthen back into a Category 1 hurricane, we do have those hurricane warnings now in effect for the coast, not inland, but the coastal waters there.
Can I ask you a question? We just showed some video of people in the water in Cocoa. Is Cocoa included in that hurricane warning, or are they too far south? Oh, they are?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's from Flagler County all the way through Volusia and down into Brevard County as well. Those winds are just going to be howling over the water.
Tony, we're talking about this surf, this strong surf. This is the pictures from Cocoa, again, as the surfers are in the water. But you have an image of a dwelling that's probably about to be taken over by the ocean.
So here's the thing. We usually rely on you guys for the video and stuff like that, but every once in a while we get a pretty dramatic photo that kind of tells the story, and the condos are taking a beating. If we can go over to WSI 1, so there's the coastal beach erosion. The wall's been taken out, and now it's about to take that pool away from the condo, because remember, the ocean's coming in. It's pulling the sand out from underneath that pool. Yeah. So what's going to happen? It's going to collapse, and then it's probably going to be sucked down to the Atlantic waters.
That is a staggering sight, and it looks like this picture is being taken from several floors up, I assume by someone who lives in a condo that's neighboring this building. I mean, the concerns going forward after this, I mean, the structure is just damaged.
Tony, 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts were reported in parts of Volusia County. When you start going up floors, I mean, obviously you want to stay away from the water, but how much more intense is that wind?
It's, you know, it depends on how high you're going, but it's definitely going to be increasing. For, you know, each story is 10 feet. So you go up 2, 3, 4 stories, you're 30, 40 feet above the surface. The winds are certainly going to be a lot stronger than 75. Not 100, but certainly a lot stronger. But so the point we want to make here is our coast is definitely taking a pounding. And Alicia, we do appreciate the photos there. If you have a couple that you think we need to share with our viewers for safety purposes, please go ahead and do so. The most recent forecast cone with the 11 o'clock advisory, which is about to be updated here, does have, as Alex alluded to, a strengthening storm. Now, when you take a look at the gusts, really overnight and this morning, we've been at hurricane force along the coast, and it's going to continue to further strengthen as it's over the Gulf Stream waters before it heads up to the South Carolinas.
And so is it off our coast right now?
It is. Just offshore.
It is still, so that's another good reason to not always pay attention to that cone and where the storm is, because the winds are still getting us, the rain is still getting us, and we're still getting storm surge, aren't we?
Right, and so as the forecast started drifting to the south, we started seeing the surge warnings come out, because we knew that on the northern side of the storm, the flow is onshore, and that was a great call. I mean, we saw that coming. It's being verified. We saw the pictures there. Today is not a day to be outside if you're along and east of I-95 in Flagler and Volusia County, and even northern Brevard.
Alex, I know you're going to give us some rain totals and more information county by county in just a moment, but Tony, give us the latest on this storm.
Yeah, let's go and check in on that for you right now. And again, one of the things that we've been honing in on is some of the rain outside, some of our own weather cabs there over towards the attractions. Things will start to improve here from southwest to northeast. I just updated a graphic. A lot of you asking, when is the wind going to end? When is the rain going to end? It's one of the biggest questions I've been getting late this afternoon and this morning. So north-northeast now at 9, up from 8 miles an hour. Remember, flow around any low pressure is counterclockwise. So we're driving in the ocean. We're driving in the wind towards Flagler and Volusia counties, and that is an area that we are going to watch very carefully. You heard Alex talking about the offshore hurricane warnings up and down the entire central Florida coastline from Marineland all the way down towards Barefoot Bay. Just offshore there, we have hurricane warnings. Just inland, we have tropical storm warnings. And wanted to pass along some new information on a flash flood warning here that is in a very heavily populated area from Marineland, the Palm Coast, down towards southern Flagler County. We have a flood warning in effect. This will be in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. Combination of the wind and the rain sticking around is the reason for that. The updated flood threat, just got this brand new image. This is going to be Volusia County northward on into Flagler County for the rest of the day. Today, look at these winds on the backside of our storm, really going full force here from Palm Coast, Daytona Beach, a 64-mile-an-hour wind gust just over an hour ago. As you saw on the western side, Lake County on up towards Ocala, a 45-mile-an-hour wind gust. As the storm lifts to the northeast, gradually that wind field is going to build up towards the north and the east. Michelle was asking, where is the storm? It's right here now, just east of Oak Hill and just east of New Smyrna Beach, pinging that with our Weather Service radar out of Melbourne. And then we go to Titusville, up to the north towards Oak Hill. Alex has been doing a wonderful job of pinging some of these winds for me, easily 60-plus miles an hour. We head a little bit farther to the north here, up towards Flagler County. Again, we're using the Jacksonville radar here on this one. Crescent Beach, over towards Marineland, back through the interior, 50 to 60-mile-an-hour wind gust here. And from time to time, when those bands come ashore, wrapping around the northern side, we're pinging 70 to 75 miles an hour. Peak wind gusts at Orlando's International Airport, 67. Dr. Phillips, 46. There's a look now at the wind gusts. Here we go, 7 o'clock, improving now through the interior, but along the coast with the center of circulation just offshore. Still through 7 o'clock, we've got tropical storm force wind gusts up and down the eastern side of the peninsula. 10 o'clock, 1 or 2 locales at tropical storm force, but even 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, very close to tropical storm force winds. As we get into early Friday morning, area-wide, the weather from a wind standpoint going to be a whole lot better. Now, what about the rain? This is a big deal here, wrapping around on the north and west side of Ian, right through 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Heavy rain. This will continue now with an abundance of rain. Could see an additional 4 to 8 inches of rain in Flagler County. It won't really be until about midnight tonight that the worst of the heaviest rains will be offshore. Then the weather will be improving. So when does it end? Just updated this, beginning to end right now in our southwestern communities. Give it to about 6 to 9 to get out of those tropical storm force winds, eastern Orange, central and northern Brevard. And we think this is going to linger through about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning on the eastern side of the peninsula. A ton of rain today. That is having a significant impact on many of our communities. With more on that, let me send you over to Alex.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. I mean, when we look at the swath of the rain totals over the past 24 hours, you can see that bullseye right in here from Osceola County up through most of Orange County, Seminole County, and into Volusia County, where we have this purple and the white shadings of color. That's between 8 to 9 inches of rain, upwards of 13 inches of rain there south of Orlando, right over near Dr. Phillips, up towards the north in Edgewater. 12.5 inches of water, 15.8 inches of water there just south of Daytona Beach. And again, it is still raining across most of those communities. So it's going to take some time. All this rainwater needs to go somewhere, and it usually drains from your neighborhoods into the local rivers, into the local tributaries, and then out into the ocean. But keep in mind, the winds are going to be whipping that ocean of water back up towards shore, and the drains aren't going to be able to flow out freely. So it's going to take time time to recede. A little Wekiva River near Altamont, currently up to about 31 feet, record 29 feet. So seeing record flooding on our area rivers. Not quite record flooding yet on the St. Johns River near Astor, but we do expect this river level to continue to rise as we go over the coming days, and it's going to take time again for that to recede. Getting close to record river levels there in the St. Johns above Lake Harney, and Shingle Creek at Campbell, 62.57 feet. That's over that record. I was 62.3 set back. Again, record level rainfall equals record level river levels across the communities. St. Johns at Astor, again, look at this major flood stage as we go into the afternoon, and as we continue through the week into Tuesday, still at that major level. We're going to be seeing flooding along the riverbanks for days. It should be about a week before this river levels really become to come down. By Tuesday, 4 p.m., again above Lake Harney, still in that major flood stage. We've been dealing with pretty impressive rain totals across central Florida. I want to get to some of them here. You can see through Orange County through about 11 o'clock in the morning, or Union Park, 16.69 inches of rain, over a foot of rain near Aloma, close to a foot in Buffalo in Orange County. Over in Osceola County, also very impressive rain totals, but quite the gradient. Lake Kissimmee, about 6, almost 7 inches of rain. You get to Campbell up to 15.65 inches of rain. And as we go through the day in Flagler County, still raining out there. Rain totals right now between about 6 to close to 8 inches of rain. And again, we are expecting more rain as Hurricane Ian, or Tropical Storm Ian now expected to become Hurricane Ian in the next advisory, will continue to dump rain, especially there along our coastline. So we're going to be dealing with this rainfall as we go throughout the evening tonight. Still a first warning weather day as we go from about 7 o'clock until 3 a.m. Once we get past 3 a.m., we start to see our weather improving, and over the coming days, much drier air is going to be working in. So it's going to give some time for those floodwaters to recede and eventually the river levels to drop. Again, plenty of dry conditions, luckily, as we go through the week ahead. Those temperatures much cooler behind the system, though, with those high temperatures right around the mid to upper 80s. Again, we're pouring over the river level data. We'll bring you some updated numbers coming up in a few moments.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. And Stuart, as we said, we've had our crews fanned out here checking out different situations. There have been points, though, during our coverage, some of our crews have told us we weren't able to get certain places. Yeah. One of those was New Smyrna Beach, but it seems as though we found a way in.
WESH 2's Dave McDaniel has made his way to New Smyrna Beach. He joins us now live with flooding behind him. Dave, before you set the scene there in New Smyrna Beach, how is your home doing over in Sanford, and how is your wife doing as well?
Well, she lost power, and of course that was a little bit of an uncomfortable situation for her. I've got a tree down, I've got some problems with my deck, I've got branches and limbs all over the place, and my house is surrounded by water. But we're okay, and we're going to be okay, and we're going to fight through it. And we were prepared, I will point out. The generator is running. There's an extension cord running into the house, and everything is going better. And I believe she reached out to me just before we went on the air to say that power may have been restored, and hopefully that will last, and that'll be a good thing. But I will tell you, I will offer that Ian is a generational storm, one that we will be talking about for the remainder of our lives, for the wind, the damage, and the rain. It seemed like we drove 425 miles to get to New Smyrna Beach from Sanford. It was around down trees, down power lines, water over the road, turn around, go another direction. It's really awful. We're now on State Road 44. We're just east of I-95. Here's an example of the wind. Now there you've got a tree down over a wire, and then you've got all this water in the ditch. That water in the ditch is flowing out on the State Road 44, and it's really flowing out with some ferocity. Look at the current here as it runs off of the shoulder of State Road 44 down into this ditch and it continuing on eastbound on State Road 44. People coming through here, you know, we always tell people turn around, don't drown, but necessity is the mother of invention. These folks feel like they got to get through there, and we've been seeing traffic come through here for some frequency, including law enforcement and other first responders like fire trucks. This is really an unbelievable scene. You know, Tropical Storm Faye brought us a lot of water, probably the most water that I've ever seen in my career in Central Florida, which spans 34 years. That was 2008. This is water, water everywhere. Faye brought a ton of water, but it brought it to a much smaller location. This is water that is impacting nearly everyone, and it's going to be impacting nearly everyone for some time. Again, so far everybody is making it through, but I think we need to point out that we're always being told not to go through water if you don't know what's underneath it. You don't know that the road's been washed out, that there's might be a charged power line underneath, or any sort of thing. But again, People are seeing their neighbor go ahead of them and making it, so they're continuing on. And again, there aren't a whole lot of ways to get beachside. You know, even on the most glorious beach day, it was harder to get to New Smyrna Beach today, and we're not even close to the beach. We're just barely past I-95, just because there are so many hazards in the way. In the water here, we've seen a couple of fish. We saw a catfish trying to swim upstream. Jacob Wickland, my partner here, turned it around and got at least going with the stream. So hopefully that guy will make it back to a proper pond. But no, this is really a remarkable amount of water. When you think about the number of inches that have fallen in various areas over the number of acreage, I hate to even calculate the amount of gallons of water this is.
Hey, Dave, you mentioned how long it took you to get to New Smyrna Beach just because of the difficulty of the roads and navigating. Can you describe what it was like getting there and what you saw along your way in terms of like power lines down, lights, traffic lights, and businesses as you were driving through?
Well, a little bit of all of that. There were trees down everywhere, some of them over the road, some of them bringing down wires that were also in the road. Some folks who their property was flooded and they had property they wanted to protect. We actually were in one section near Sanford where somebody had property they wanted to protect. Basically, they were pulled behind trailers for the business they operate. They parked them on Surrey Avenue. They're just sitting in the eastbound lane of Surrey Avenue. We had to navigate around those. I understand they're trying to protect their property, but it was on the road, and that was something we had to navigate around. We tried to come up 415. We were told by the crew that was coming to meet us to bring us some equipment that we couldn't make it between the two, so we had to circle back around. We got on I-4, we went up to 44, and then we came over, but we had to go through a couple places of high water over the road. But yeah, the side roads, either side of State Road 44, covered in water. People are trying to get back to their homes, trying to get back to their businesses. It's really a remarkable mess. It was hard to find gas. We found one gas station not far from where we're standing, and it was slammed. People were topping off their cars, and quite honestly, they're topping off generators. I checked with the FPNL website on the way over here. I believe 195,000 people in Volusia County have FPNL, and about 145,000 of those don't have any juice. So that is a huge number of people that are going to be running generators, so fuel is going to be in short supply. Reporting live in New Smyrna Beach, Dave McDaniel, WESH-TV News.
Dave, thanks so much. We'll let you guys dry off and get inside the vehicle for just a short while and check back in with you in just a little while.
All right, we want to get over to Jim Payne. He's back in studio for us. Jim, the images coming out of Southwest Florida just break your heart. What do you have to show us today?
You can't calculate this. It's hard to conceive it, and I'm sure if you're there in person watching it, it is way worse than anything that we could ever show you. This is complete catastrophic damage along the beach in Southwest Florida. The video that we're watching here was taken by the Lee County Sheriff's Office helicopter. There's the road out to Sanibel, and it is washed out. And it really only captures just a sliver of the totality of ruin here. The sheriff said it best, calling it devastating. At last check, Florida Emergency Management rescued 500 people in Lee and Charlotte counties just this morning. And then we have the video from the air. That was the video from the air. Let's take you to the ground. And this is where it's heartbreaking because it's right there in your face. You see these homes reduced to rubble. Many neighborhoods are unrecognizable. An official death toll has not been announced. But even though officials say we may not know the true vastness of the damage for weeks.
This could be the deadliest hurricane in Florida's history. The numbers are still unclear, but we're hearing early reports of what may be substantial loss of life.
Now we have this time-lapse video of the storm surge. This was reported in the area to have reached 12 feet. This is in the Fort Myers area. This is just a little bit inland in a bay. The video is just over an hour and a half. This was shot Wednesday morning, and you can see just the insidious advance of the seawater up across the main drag through town right there, and it continues on up. If you've been to Fort Myers, there's the waterfront area, some fancy places to stay and homes, and then it kind of stretches back into the main downtown area where there's probably half a dozen buildings that are 6 to 7 stories high, but it's relatively flat. There's not much slope to it, so when the water started coming up and advanced as far as it did, you knew that they were in a really, really bad situation. So we have some more video here. This gas station here in Port Charlotte is barely standing. The roof was ripped to pieces. Not a single roof covering section there at all. This one is just a mess. And we just got this drone footage in that we want to show you. This is from Joe's Crab Shack. And if you've been along the waterfront, you've probably either driven by there or at least, you know, talked about going to Joe's. And this is, it is right on the waterfront. I mean, it is like slam up against it. You know, look out and you see nothing but water, and all these boats. The restaurant is right in the front there, that little pier that sticks out. It's on the left-hand side, and everything is just piled up here or just left to ruin. It's just, you know, words fail me. Words are my life, but they fail me right now, and it's just absolutely awful to see. So we know the prep work for a storm is already quite a chore, but now is the time when some of the grueling rescue and cleanup work continues and gets underway. We'll continue monitoring the situation along the Gulf Coast of Florida on air on WESH.com and our multiple online platforms. Back to you guys.
Jim, thanks so much. Some of those pictures, especially those boats just piled up.
I know. I think a lot of people are at a loss for words today after seeing the images now that the sun is up and we're getting a clearer picture of all the damage, not in our area, but in our state. Just
the storm just doesn't want to stop either.
I know. And the fact that we're not going to be done with this for hours and hours, that means there's more damage to come.
All right, guys, we need to give you an update on some of our local counties and what they are doing in response to the storm. Sumter County Library Systems are planning to reopen on Saturday, October the 1st. For regular business hours. A lot of people are looking to get their kids or their families out, get some power, charge your phones, search the web. Sumter County's library system is hoping to be back on in time for Saturday, October 1st.
Okay, we have a boil water notice. This was issued this afternoon for the city of Winter Springs. Officials say they have been working on a couple of water main breaks in this area. As a result, you are urged to boil all water, especially for cooking, drinking, even brushing your teeth. You definitely need to boil this water or use bottled water. But listen to this. Flagler County officials are urging people to limit their water usage. They're saying only in an emergency to use your water. They say it's necessary to allow the overwhelmed sewer systems to catch up. And this is why leading up to the storm, we always tell people, fill your bathtub, fill up all the bottles in your house, because if you need to limit your water use, you will have some water reserved in case you want to shower, flush your toilets, wash your dishes.
And, well, you know, the one thing is there's so much water everywhere. Hopefully, if you do need to flush your toilets, something like that, you might be able to go outside and fill up a bucket.
That is true.
Let's talk about these rainfall totals, because we saw in areas, I saw 30 inches of rain in some places in Florida.
It is wild. And yeah, Tony, so we had been talking leading up to the storm that we could see 2 feet of rain even here in our area. Has anyone hit those totals?
The highest I've seen thus far is close to 20 inches. You had asked me last night, do I think we're going to reach those totals? And my answer was to you, let's wait and see what we have tomorrow. And in fact, we're pretty darn close to 20 inches, which to me is incredible. Now, I do want to give you some good news here. The tropical storm warnings that were on the western side of our viewing area have now been lifted. However, we have added a hurricane warning along the offshore of the coast here of Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard counties. Hurricane warning with Ian just offshore is creating an immense amount of wind, an immense amount of rain, and as we've been showing you from our reporters along the coast, some pretty phenomenal coastal beach erosion and issues, and we're getting a lot of flooding too. We don't have any flood emergencies like we had earlier this morning when you were watching Kellyanne and Eric, but we do have a flood warning that will remain in effect for Marineland, Palm Coast, Beverly Beach, Flagler Beach, Bunnell, right through 9 o'clock tonight, and it is still coming down there. Now, if there's any good news, the flood concerns will be lifting northeastward this evening, and that means that really the one focal point that we're going to be watching is up here in Flagler County. Next couple of hours, though, we're still going to watch here on into coastal Volusia County and even northern Brevard County, as some of the bands there are feeding off towards the north and the east. Went through those winds there fairly quickly, so let me back it up. There's Palm Coast gusting to 50 miles an hour. Daytona Beach down from 64 to 52. Look at the interior. We're starting to see things slacking on off here through the interior, 35, 45 miles an hour. I think we go another 2-3 hours, we're going to be in much better shape from a wind standpoint. There is the center of Ian just to our northeast. As we go with each passing hour, the wind speeds here through northern Brevard County have been coming on down. Alex has been doing a wonderful job of kind of helping me out and putting on some of those winds there in and around Titusville up towards Oak Hill. We're still probably running close to about 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour. Remember, just above the ground, it's a little bit higher. So we try to translate down to the surface there, and they're probably running, as we've been showing you, in that 50 to 65 mile an hour range. But literally, from time to time, we're getting some legit 70 to potentially 75 mile an hour winds, and we're certainly getting that offshore. Farther to the north, using the Jacksonville radar, 50 to 60 miles an hour. There's Alex in the hurricane warning area offshore, 63 to about 75 miles an hour. Record rainfall. Today's rainfall since midnight is the wettest ever for a single day, considering it the 200-year flood standard. Today was unbelievable, approaching in some areas 20 inches of rain. Yesterday was the fourth wettest here in Central Florida. A couple peak wind gusts. Want to kind of break this down. Seminole County, Sanford, Orlando International Airport, 61 miles an hour. Winter Springs High School, Lake Mary, and Lake Harney, all tropical storm plus. Now, we get to 7, 8 o'clock, things winding down through the interior from time to time. We get these gusty winds. As we go deeper into the evening, it's going to take a little bit more time, probably looking at midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning for those tropical storm force gusts to wind down. Rainfall-wise, pretty similar. As we get to 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, rain beginning to wind down. But as it winds back up and intensifies, we may bring in some more bands of rain as we get to 10, 11 o'clock before things finally lift off towards the north and east. So we're going in the right direction. We just need to give it a good 6 to 8 hours here between now and about midnight. I think we're going to be in much better shape. So again, through 2 a.m. here, a little bit later along the coast, between about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, we're almost there now in eastern Orange County, already seeing the winds calming down across our western communities as those tropical storm warnings have been lifted. An immense amount of rain and an immense amount of issues along our rivers, streams, and creeks. With more on that, here's Alex.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. I mean, again, this is some really record amounts of rain across much of Central Florida here in this white to purple shading here. It's anywhere from about 6 foot of rain, or 6 inches, sorry, 6 inches of rain, all the way past a foot up to about 15.7 inches of rain just south of Daytona Beach. Let's take a look now at some of the river levels and what we're going to be expecting. Potential storm surge here all along these little rivers and estuaries. If you live around there, you're already experiencing flooding, and it's going to take some time for these rivers to drain. You can see here right between Marineland and Palm Coast, as the hurricane or the tropical storm continues to intensify into a hurricane, it's going to be pushing all that water back into these river areas. And from Marineland down to Palm Coast, expecting upwards from about 1 to about 6 feet of that river rise. So a little bit further down to the south here near Astor, again all along the banks, we're going to be watching out for river flooding. As the river continues to exceed its banks, it's going to again take time for that to drain back into the ocean. Palm Coast down through down towards Ponce Inlet here, watching out again for about 1 to 6 foot of that continued storm surge and rise. And over in near Brevard County, also going to be watching out for that river rise. I just updated some of these river levels. We're expecting major flood stages across much of the area. This is again, apparently I got a smart device there denying me. If we can pull that full, I don't know if we can pull WSI full right now, so I can take a look at some of these river levels near Astor. There you go. 4.1 foot is the flood stage right now. As we go later on this evening, we're expecting that to continue to rise up to about 4.5 feet. And then look how long it takes to drain. Even as we go towards Tuesday afternoon, still looking at major flooding levels. So as we go over the next few hours here, still in the rough of it along our coast from 7 o'clock until about 3 o'clock in the morning. Then we start to turn that corner and we start to have that weather beginning to improve as the winds die down and the rain leaves us offshore. Over the next 7 days, thankfully, drier weather is on the way. Rain is going to be coming to an end as we go through the day tomorrow and through much of the weekend. Rain chances remain quite low as we go through next week.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. We want to get you back outside and show you what is happening in our communities in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian.
WESH News's Luana Munoz joins us now live from Kissimmee. Luana, you're at the Good Samaritans village where people are being evacuated by the National Guard.
It looks like a National Guard vehicle that's out here. It's Osceola Fire and Rescue along with the Osceola Sheriff's Department. Take a look behind me. You can see the fire crews that are out here and that giant bus. They are loading people onto that bus who need to go to a shelter right now. Unfortunately, you guys missed 2 loads of people that they were able to get out of here. But I want to show you just how severe the flooding is out here. Let's walk on down. You can see these were the lovely gentlemen, I guess, that have been going out throughout the day trying to rescue people out here. They tell me that they already pulled out 35 people from their homes, but you can just see how severe the flooding is. You see that car that's stuck down there. This is a golf course is what I'm told. The good news in this, I haven't heard of any severe injuries, no deaths that were reported. At this point, it is just trying to get people out of their homes safely and get them to a secured location. Some of them are being met. Hi there. Oh, are you okay, ma'am? You can get through here. Did you live down there, ma'am?
I live right there.
You live there, so you were on dry land?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Do you know anybody that lives down there covered by the water?
People, yeah, they airboated them out, so thank God they're safe.
Those are some of your friends?
Some of my friends.
I got to ask you, they tell me that this area tends to flood. Have you ever seen it like this?
Not like this.
This is the worst?
This is the worst I've seen it. And I've been here 25 years.
25 years. And yeah, this looks like an ocean that's out.
It does. Shingle Creek does that to us.
You know, well, you look like you're happy and healthy right now.
I am.
That's the most important part, right?
And I'm going safer.
Are you going to go to any shelters, or are you just going to stay in your home?
I'm going to my friend's house that's got electricity and everything.
So everybody here has pretty much lost power, and I understand they even turned it off to get out there, correct?
To make sure that everybody was safe.
Thank you so much. Oh, you look happy and safe, and that's the most important
thing. Happy I'm getting out, and all my friends are out. So
that's important. What's your name?
Brenda.
Brenda. Brenda what?
Nice Wonder.
Nice Wonder.
Nice Wonder.
Look at that. Look at that. Your destiny. Nice Wonder. I love that.
I love that.
Brenda, you have a blessed day, and thank God you're okay and your friends are doing all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You get to some safety.
Same to you.
Thank you. Well, you heard it right there, guys. That was Brenda. Fortunately, she lives on this side. If you guys can see, there's some homes that are a little bit on drier land, but you can see there's mobile homes back there that are pretty much covered. There's no way that you can really get in or out safely unless someone comes and gets you by a vote. So just once again, this is the New Samaritan, our Good Samaritan village out here in the Kissimmee area. They do tell me that it floods, but this is the severest that anyone has ever seen. And I don't know if you guys can see just how bad it is from that angle. Here's another angle to show you. This, again, was a golf course area. And they've already taken out some 35 people, we are told. I don't know if they are continuing. Oh, here comes another boat or another truck, if you guys can see. And it looks like it is loaded with people on there. Oh my goodness. This is the result of a hurricane. This is the ugly part of a hurricane, but the silver lining, again, no serious injuries that have been reported. Here we go. Let's get out the way here, Gary. Reporting live in Osceola County, Luana Munoz, you guys. I don't know if you want to stay on me or stay on this.
Hey, Luana.
Oh, my goodness, look at that.
Luana, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Luana?
Yeah, I sure can.
Okay. Do you know how long that they're going to be staying here to continue these rescue efforts? Is this where they're stationed for the day?
It seems like it. They haven't told me how many are left. But they've been going in and out. We've been seeing airboats going out. We've been seeing these massive trucks here on the giant 4 wheels going in and out. So they're trying to get people out of their homes by various methods. And as you can tell, this is more of an elderly community. So these are the kind of people that do need assistance. Some of them are going to shelters. Some of them have relatives and family that are waiting for them up here. But you can see just the human side of this.
Luana, a lot of people in Kissimmee are hurting right now because of the tremendous amount of floodwaters that hit that area specifically. I mean, everywhere in Central Florida got hit, but really hard hit there as well.
Right.
Have you been able to speak to some of those family members that are hoping to receive loved ones on the other end? Are they saying that they're still waiting to find out or hear about loved ones that were down there?
Yes, I did speak with one man. His name was Rufus. He was waiting for his father to get out. And I did see when his father did get out, he was able to make it out safely. Dad was laughing. He said he slept right through it. He could hear the wind, but he had no idea that he was living in a swimming pool by the time he woke up. So when he woke up, that's when he realized just how bad it was, and the rescue efforts were underway. So the two of them, father and son, were reunited. So he was able to take his dad away, and it was a very happy ending. And that's what you want to see. You want to make sure that, you know, your loved ones are safe, and that's the hardest part, not knowing, you know, seeing his son before his father was able to make it out. He was just so worried and so concerned, as you can imagine. Your family or your father, your parent, your mother is stuck in something like this. You're just really praying and hoping for the best. And again, they have no power out here, so, you know, if they have medical emergencies or need that electricity, these are the people that are definitely going to be needing that power is so important for them. So again, they're taking them to shelters if they don't have somewhere to go, or you just heard it from Brenda. She's going to go find a safe haven with a friend on higher ground who's in an area where they have electricity. But you can see right there, some people, I think, are reuniting with their loved ones.
All right, WESH-2's Luana Munoz live for us in Kissimmee today. Thank you so much. We're going to continue our team coverage and showing you the destruction that's happening around our town. And one area we were particularly concerned about for flooding was Seminole County, as with all of our other counties. Yeah. But certain areas in Seminole, I think, are a little bit more vulnerable because of our bodies of water. Little Kaivo is at the highest level it's ever been. WESH-2's Christina Watkins joins us now live from Seminole County. You grew up in Seminole County. Have you ever seen anything like this, Christina?
Yeah. No, Stuart, I have never in my entire life, born and raised in Seminole County, I've never seen anything like this. Right now, we are on Airport Boulevard. This is in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood. You can see some of the standing water here in this neighborhood. We've seen so many cars driving down Airport Boulevard, specifically at West 20th Street. We've seen the National Guard down the street, the sheriff's office here in this neighborhood. Down the road right here, if you look straight, our photographer Hudson is looking down the road. There goes another National Guard truck. They have been in this neighborhood rescuing people, helping people evacuate. All throughout the county, though, it's been so bad. It has been so bad. Historic flooding like we've seen across parts of Central Florida. More than 170 homes affected in Seminole County from this water. I mentioned drivers coming down flooded streets. I want to pinpoint this right here. There are homes right along this road. When you drive down a flooded street like this, not only is it dangerous for you, but it's not considerate to your neighbor because of the waves that push up onto the driveway that could potentially get in somebody's car, that maybe could even get into their home. So not only are you posing a risk for yourself, but you are potentially leaving so much damage behind for your neighbor. Right under here, this car just passed this down power line here. This is on West 20th Street. This, guys, is dangerous. If you see this, you need to call Seminole County leaders. Let them come fix it. Do not try to pass underneath it because you don't know if this is a live wire. You just don't know what's going on. That is why Seminole County leaders are asking you to just stay home, because you really do not know the conditions and how bad they are. I know you want to get out. I know you want to see what's going on, but it's just really not ideal in this area. We heard from Seminole County leaders. Look at this. That is dangerous. It is splashing. It is washing up. We had to pull over to the side because we knew going down that road, that was the direction where we saw the National Guard. We knew going down that way, if the Guard was that way, we don't need to go. We need to get out of their way, let them do whatever they have to do to get people in need to safety. I want to talk about some of the debris that we have seen across Seminole County. Earlier today, emergency leaders from Seminole County, Alan Harris, he said so far they have about 1 million cubic yards of debris throughout Seminole County. If you are familiar with Disney World, with Epcot and this area, he compared that to about 9 spaceship Earths at Epcot. And you know how big that is, right? That is the equivalent of how much debris they have to pick up throughout Seminole County. So they said it's going to take a while. It's going to take some weeks, maybe even some months to pick up everything, but they ask you to be patient. Earlier today, we did get some video from Seminole County leaders showing them rescuing people, getting them to safety here in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood. Also in Wekiva, Stewart, you mentioned that area. That is a part that was prone to flooding because of the river levels. The St. Johns River could not take any more water. That was something we've been telling you about leading up to this storm. And as expected, this is the aftermath. This is what we were telling you to prepare for. And it really, truly is devastating to see what people are going to have to deal with and how long this recovery for many homeowners will take in this area, specifically in Lincoln Heights. So we're going to continue to stay out here, follow some of the damage, give you an idea of what people are dealing with. But in the meantime, guys, please stay home. Please don't try and drive through streets like this because, as I mentioned, it's not only a risk for you, but it's also a risk for your neighbor. And under the power line, not safe. Don't do that.
That was scary to even see there. Christina, how's mom and dad?
So scary. Mom and dad are doing well. I've got family here. Talked to my aunt and my uncle who live in Oviedo. They're doing all right. But one thing that did hurt my heart to see, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in Oviedo, the steeple at the top of the church is tilting. So normally sticks up straight. It is leaning. That is just terrifying to see, especially at a place of worship like that in Oviedo, the heart of downtown Oviedo. Pastor Jones is in communication with my dad, giving him updates on what they're doing to hopefully either secure the premises, God forbid it actually fall over. But we're checking in on that as well. But mom and dad, Stu, they're doing all right. They're watching. Hi, guys.
Hey, Christina, we talked a little bit about this with Jim before. You growing up in this community, we have a lot of people who work at WESH who grew up here, who don't just come here for the job. You were born and raised here. What is it like to see your community struggling like this?
Now you want to make me cry. It's hard. It's hard. And it's hard because, yes, this is something that can get better. It will get better. We are such a tight-knit community, not just in Seminole County, but across Central Florida. We look out for one another. We do our best to care for our neighbors. But this is historic. I didn't grow up seeing this. I only really witnessed this when I moved away, traveling to different markets, most recently working in New Orleans for the last 4 years. And we see things like this, but we also see neighbors helping neighbors. Here, though, in Seminole County, we're really not used to it. So it's really hurtful to watch this. But what's encouraging is to see the immediate and the swift response from so many leaders. They have been preparing for this for weeks now. They start preparing at every hurricane season. You know, we are used to that. But it's this aftermath that really can be so detrimental. But again, that response right over here, we have another National Guard truck. If we can show you, they are just up and down, looking for anybody. As soon as it was safe for them to get out, they were in communities trying to help you. Hi, guys. Thank you for your service and get people to safety. So if there's anything that's encouraging, Michelle, to answer your question, it is devastating to see this, and it's really heartbreaking to see this in my own hometown, my own community, but it's encouraging to watch the response, the quick action from so many of our first responders. And we cannot thank all of you enough for getting out there, hitting the ground running, ready to help out and rescue anybody who needs it.
Christina Watkins, live for us in Seminole County, putting her signature positive spin on this. I love it. She's always looking on the bright side. Thank you, Christina.
Let's head now to Daytona Beach, where WESH News' Gail Pascal Brown is reporting. Gail, last night you were out there, and I was truly concerned by some of the images I was seeing that you were in. And as I'm looking at your shot right now, it doesn't look like things have improved that much.
No, you know something, Stuart, I thought when I went to sleep that I'd wake up to something a little bit better, but the wind is crazy. I mean, photographer Alex Ailey is just basically trying to stay here in one piece. But let me tell you where we are. We are at the Ocean Center. We're right in front here. You can see there's already a palm tree down. Now, here at the Ocean Center, there are many power crews that are staged here. I've been seeing some come out, some leave. One guy getting ready to go to work on some lines. You can also see some flooding over here. This is not regular, okay? This is water, and they've got some historic water in Volusia County, flooding that is. Now, let's go to some video, because when you take a drive down A1A, you can see some of the debris that's in the roadway. This is why they don't want you to be here and be out here on the roadways. Bottom line, you can see right there, people running over power lines. Nope, that's a no-no. You're not supposed to do that. And if you do see this, please call the Citizens Information Center so that, or law enforcement, as Christina was talking about, and even in her county, to make sure that's taken care of. You shouldn't even be on the roadway anyway, because the curfew has been extended. Started 10 a.m. this morning until 7 a.m. Friday. Now, back out here live, there is about more than 200,000 Volusia County residents who are without power right now. We, in fact, woke up without power. Nothing like a cold shower to get you up and going this morning, that's for sure. But the good thing about it is, it's good to be waking up. You know what I'm saying? We're blessed, and the power is going to be restored. Things can be replaced. I'm Gail Pascal Brown, reporting live in Volusia County for WESH-2 News.
I'm not going to let you go just yet, Gail, because I want to ask you a quick question. Obviously, you grew up in North Carolina, where you dealt with a lot of hurricanes. You've seen this. And you've lived in Central Florida for almost 30 years now, working at WESH. Have you ever seen anything that compares to what we have gone through the last 2-3 days?
Well, I'm going to tell you, in North Carolina, we had some doozies. Of course, there was Diana, there was Fran. Fran was the most recent. I was pregnant with Fran, and we had power outages all over the place. There was debris that was uncanny. So, I mean, this, you know, we're not finished with Hurricane Ian. We know this, and we're also going to go down and get you some more visuals to show you can see just basically what is going on. But it's the winds. The winds are what's really a real trip, and that's what's scary, and that's why you need to stay off the roads, because those winds can take you away, literally. I'm not talking about Calgon. I'm talking about Hurricane Ian winds that can actually take you away. But in my time, I think Fran was the worst in North Carolina, and I think it's going to be worse than Ian, but still, we're dealing with a major, massive hurricane with a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and we just want people to be careful and heed to what law enforcement does. I mean, they're not out here just checking stuff willy-nilly. They're trying to let you know, as they disseminate that through us, to make sure that you're okay, Stuart.
And Gail, you know, we've seen the video of the cars driving through the streets that they're not supposed to be. There's one passing you right now. Have you seen people walking around during the winds today? I know last night you saw a couple.
I know that, I'm sorry, the last part of your question, what was it?
Did you see any people walking around? We know people are driving out today, but are people on the streets walking?
I saw more people driving and trying to dodge those power lines than anything else. And you need to make sure when you're driving like that, you just think there's a live wire. But mostly people are driving. I guess they're trying to see what's going on. And we've seen several people coming back on another note from the power crews. Kudos to those power crews. They're going, they're leaving, they're coming out, trying to make sure the power gets back on for a lot of folks. I mean, no one wants to be without power, and they're working diligently. So just be patient when it comes to that. It's going to take a little bit. It's okay, get dressed in the dark. At least you're getting dressed, and at least you're still alive.
Hey, Claire, Gail, were you over where Claire was before? I know you're in Daytona Beach right now, but Claire was in Daytona Beach Shores. Have you been to Daytona Beach Shores to check that area out?
Yeah, that area is seriously had some issues going on. I'm going to meet a business owner there as soon as I finish this live shot to take a look at some of the damage, if she's still there, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to see about some homes there. I want to try to get on the other side because the bridges are closed right now, and I know they're allowing maybe some people to get over there. I'm hoping they'll let me over there so I can show you some of that stuff over there too.
Well, Gail, we're going to let you get back to work. You're obviously updating us and the community about what they can see if they walk outside. Stay safe out there. Don't take any chances. I know you won't. But like you always tell me, I still have to say it, so I feel comfortable before I let you go. So, Gail, thanks so much. Let's head to the south of Gail in New Smyrna Beach, where their damage there just as extensive as we've seen anywhere along Volusia County.
Yeah, so we're going out live now to WESH-2's Dave McDaniel. Dave, we checked in with you a little while ago. We were seeing the floodwaters. You guys were seeing fish being swept down the street. How are the conditions now?
Well, we only really moved about probably less than a mile west, a little bit closer to I-95. And look at this mobile home and RV community here and the amount of water that is literally everywhere. Every vehicle, every house, every home surrounded by water, and not just a little bit, several inches of water around each and every one of these homes. And the farther back you look, there are cars that are nearly halfway underwater. It is just remarkable the amount of water. Now, this is obviously runoff from State Road 44. Obviously, it's rainfall from out of the sky. I am not aware geographically whether or not there is some sort of body of water behind this area, but this is clearly an area where water is collecting in huge amounts. I have not seen really anyone walking around. So in theory, most of the people did evacuate out of here. There are plenty of vehicles here, but I have not seen anyone. Again, we are on basically the south side of State Road 44 in the area of New Smyrna Beach, right next to I-95, a little bit to the east of I-95, and a little bit west of where we were just reporting from. But the amount of water continues to just boggle my mind. You know, I spent the last couple of days reporting in Tampa, and there was obviously plenty of water there, but over here, the impacts of the flooding just remarkably enormous. As said, as we drove up around State Road 44, all of the side roads had water over the top. People trying to go down those roads had water up to the middle of their grill. Now, the gentleman here in this pickup that's coming down State Road 44, a little bit ahead of him is where we were just reporting from before. He's going to encounter about 10 inches of water over the road, and sometimes it's hard to see. We've got a little bit of sunlight now, so it's not quite as bad, but when it gets extremely overcast and the visibility is poor and there's water over the road on top of it, it's really treacherous. And for people, if they're going to be out and about at night, it's going to be even harder to tell the difference on whether or not it is the dark asphalt or whether or not it's the darkness of water, and hitting water at speed can be really, really dangerous. Reporting live in New Smyrna Beach, Dave McDaniel, WESH-TV News.
Hey, Dave, you mentioned something that's critical, and we want to make that distinction when you were giving us the location of where you are. You're near New Smyrna Beach. You're kind of in unincorporated Volusia County, and you haven't actually been able to make it to Daytona Beach. Is it still inaccessible at this moment?
You broke up just a little bit. Can you re-ask that question?
I was saying you were making the distinction of where you were. You haven't actually made it to New Smyrna Beach yet, have you? It's still inaccessible at this time?
I have to be honest with you, I'm not an expert on where the city limit actually is.
Okay.
I can tell you we crossed under I-95. We got in the area of the car dealerships that are there right next to I-95 on State Road 44. And I know that downtown New Smyrna Beach is that way. We have not gone over the bridge. We're certainly still on the mainland side of the bridge, but I don't know where the actual city limit is in comparison to where I'm standing.
Okay, all right. We just wanted to see if you knew exactly where that was. Okay, thank you so much. Dave McDaniel live for us in Volusia County. I don't know if he's going to be moving around, but it has been astonishing to see the flooding over there.
And the flooding is just now beginning in a lot of areas. I mean, obviously, we've seen the flash flooding that's happened, but Tony, give us a distinction between flooding and flash flooding and some of these river levels you're watching.
Well, so flash flooding, I mean, that's more urgent. I mean, and on top of that, we had a flood emergency this morning. If you were watching earlier near Wekiva, southwest Seminole County, and up in portions of Volusia County, we don't have any flood emergencies right now. But the flash flood versus a flood advisories, the potential's there essentially. Again, when you got a warning, you know flooding is going on, and then an emergency is really, really serious.
Can I spout these numbers off for you just so that you can go through them? Little Wekiva at 30 feet. Record is 29, so blown that away.
New record, right?
4.1 in St. Johns River and Astor, and they're now at 4.6 as a record.
A little note on that.
Yep.
That one, we were just looking at that, Alex and I. It looks like, Alex, if I remember, because there's so many numbers going in my head, that is actually going to hold steady, if not drop down just a little bit.
Astor, yes. So I think I had the graphic coming up. It should be dropping down to about 3.7, which is still moderate flooding.
Exactly.
Not the major flood scale, but I'm setting these numbers up right now. That Lake Harney one is updated as well.
And you were talking about the fact that even though the storm is ending for some and the rains are starting to stop, it doesn't mean the flooding stops.
Correct, because I mean all of our neighborhoods, they drain rather quickly, but that water has to go somewhere, and normally it drains out into our rivers, into our streams, so that makes those rivers and streams surge. Those then drain out into the ocean, but when you have the winds blowing the ocean waters upshore, everything is gravity fed. Most storm water systems are gravity fed, has to roll downhill. Well, if the water levels are high at the end of it, it has nowhere to flow. So it's going to take a long time for that ocean to drain and then the waters to drain out from the rivers.
So are you saying people whose homes haven't been flooded or areas that haven't been flooded just yet do have the potential to still flood going forward?
Especially along the river banks. As all this water starts to flow into those rivers levels are expected to rise in many spots.
Yeah, not all rivers, but that's a great point. Some are actually holding steady, some are going on up, and that's why we're going to continue to update those river forecasts every hour. The creeks, those rise rapidly, they come down rapidly. The bigger rivers there, you know, up towards Astor, it's a bigger, it holds more water. That one, for the most part, it's gradual. So is Lake Harney up towards Sanford.
Astor was the one where they said they couldn't even handle a few more inches, correct? And we're talking feet.
That's correct.
I think it was last week they had a flood warning already just from our seasonal rains.
We've had so much rain lately.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to go through the power outages in just a moment, but Tony, I want to talk about the latest on Tropical Storm Ian. Is it still a tropical storm? Another 5 o'clock advisory is coming. You're looking at this thing to be a hurricane again.
You know, some people would say along the coast that it's still a hurricane, and the reason for that is because the gusts all afternoon long today have been right around 65, 70 miles an hour. We have a high to the north of the storm. We have low pressure here. So it's funneling in the winds in tandem, which makes it worse. But it's going to be back over the Gulf Stream here in just a little bit, and that's why we're looking for intensification and issues for Savannah and up towards the Carolinas.
Well, take us to the storm, Tony. We'll follow your lead on this.
All right, let's take a look at those power outages here. In Orange County, we still have almost 250,000 people without power. Seminole County, over 130,000 people without power. Look at Volusia County, almost 250,000 people. This is courtesy of PowerOutage.USA helping us out using this data on our weather computers. There is the 2 o'clock advisory. Winds at 70. Any minute here, we could get the 5 o'clock advisory. So I'm going to ask Alex just to keep an eye on the weather computer there to see if, once I'm done with this one, if this is indeed upgraded to a hurricane or if it's still a tropical storm. Because it's a strong storm and because it's intensifying, in case you missed it, hurricane warnings are in effect for the offshore waters. But every once in a while, as the band comes back on the backside of this, we are seeing tropical storm force winds inland and almost hurricane force gusts along the coast. The good news is, though, with each passing hour, the worst of the weather is inching and creeping closer to being offshore. This evening, we're going to watch Flagler County, especially along I-95. Flood watches are now gradually being lifted. Another good sign here. The flood warning for Flagler County from Marineland, Palm Coast, Beverly Beach, Bunnell, back towards the Hammock Beach and over towards Flagler Beach. We are talking through 9 o'clock tonight as you're on the backside. And look at this big band. Trying to roll back on the eastern side there of Ian, and down the coast we go all the way down towards Titusville. We've got wind gusts near 45 to 50 miles an hour. Back towards the interior, we're doing 25 to about 40. There's the center of circulation. Big burst of energy slamming now into coastal Flagler and Volusia County. Still raining back along I-4. Wind gusts here have come down. We're getting a little bit better, but it's still very breezy. 53 Titusville over towards Scottsmore, Mims, we're talking about maybe 65 a mile an hour wind gusts there. Farther to the north, as you can see, punching Jacksonville's radar, still looking at these gusty winds here, up and down the coast, in and around Daytona Beach, 55 to 60, and back up towards Palm Coast and Crescent Beach, again, 45, 55, just offshore. We have those hurricane force winds, and from time to time, those do back on it. Peak wind gusts, by the way, in Melbourne Beach, 81 miles an hour. Patrick Air Force Base, 61 miles an hour. Back to Volusia County. Okay, we want to go to Orlo Vista in Orange County, and we're going to check in with one of our reporters out there to get the update of what's going on right now.
Yeah, hey there, Tony. We're in Orlo Vista where the flooding is, quite frankly, stunning. I just talked to an Orange County Fire Department official, said that in some parts down in Hope Circle, it is higher than waist, like up above his chest. So they've been out here since 4 a.m. The National Guard is helping Orange County, trying to evacuate people. The estimate was 150 people and 50 to 60 pets. Now, despite how high that water is, they said some people have chosen to stay in their homes. I mean, this is, you can see the cars right there where it's almost absurd. I think I'm stunned by how much flooding there is here, especially as we drove over here, and there were so many areas that were quite frankly unblemished. But there's debris all over the yard that we're standing in here, and what stands out to me is just there's some children's Crocs, a pink Croc just from somebody's yard that is now trash and debris in this neighborhood. So they've been out here again since 4 a.m. The National Guard, the estimate 150 people, 50 to 60 pets, and there are still people in their homes. So right now, since they've been here so long, they are loading up. They're done for the day. They've evacuated pretty much everybody they said that they could or that would leave this area. But again, we're at Orlo Vista, an area near downtown Orlando, and yeah, this is going to be an entirely awful process to kind of get through this. We're seeing a lot of neighbors come out of their houses, take pictures with their cell phones, videos. It is stunning. And I know this is an area that we've talked about that has flooded before. They pumped the water down trying to make sure this didn't happen. But despite their best efforts, you can see just the damage that this will cause. And now that this vehicle has moved through from the National Guard, you can see the servicemen in the back who have been out here again since 4 a.m. Getting some cheers from some neighbors here, obviously grateful for their help. But take a look at this front yard now across that white picket fence. I would guess that's a 4-foot fence, and that's not even close to the worst of this flooding. So, you know, certainly it's going to be a long road to try to fix things. Property can be replaced, people can't, and the people staying in their homes, hopefully they can find a way to stay safe. But for now, in Orlando, Darren Stoltzis will send it back to you.
From WESH-TV, this is continuing coverage of Ian.
And we are tracking the remnants of Ian. Hurricane Ian's damage is devastating. From destruction in southwest Florida to putting Daytona Beach underwater, President Joe Biden says this might be the deadliest storm in Florida history.
And the pictures tell the whole story. Take a look at your screen here. I mean, the damage just going from one end to the other, and it's just statewide, and it is devastating. Hurricane Ian's impact is going to be felt in our community for a very, very long time. Of course, it came onshore on the west coast as a Category 4. Now a tropical storm off the east coast, but could soon become a hurricane again. Actually, we got some breaking news. 5 o'clock advisory is in. We're back to hurricane status. Winds at 75 miles an hour. It is picking up forward speed, so that may be some good news from a rainfall standpoint in our northeastern communities, Jim Summer.
The sooner that it gets out of here, the better it is for everybody. But the effects, especially of the rainfall, which we just can't seem to shake. I mean, I watched some of our reporters, and they're, they look up and they see the sun, and it just kind of casts a little warm glow over them, and then it goes away. It's that moment when it comes back out is going to be refreshing emotionally for a lot of people.
The expression that I saw this morning vividly, I'll never forget, was Kelsey. We see a little glimmer of sunshine there in one of her live shots this morning, and she was happy as a lark. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way as she does and can't wait for this to end. Yeah, we're talking about smiles. We were actually, Luana Munoz just interviewed someone that just was getting rescued. They were rescuing her community, the National Guard, and she had a smile on her face too, because she's alive, and she said she's doing well and her friends are all safe. All right, right now we are looking down at Lake Eola and Bandshell.
Yeah,
the
Bandshell.
Yeah,
and, you can get a seat, but you can't sit down.
Swimming to your seat.
Yeah, and that kind of illustrates the problem with the flooding here in Central Florida. When you dump a foot and more of rain on our soil, it tends to run into our lakes, which are basically collection bins. And here's the thing: if that looks bad right now, it's going to look worse here probably hour by hour. When they crest, and that can take how long, Tony?
Well, it depends on which body of water you're talking about. Everyone is different, so it's a difficult one. But we've put together and assembled a whole bunch of river forecast here for folks that live along them. Now, the one thing it's not immediate. Well, it can be if it's a creek, because the volume of water is not that bad. So the Shingle Creek will rise and drop rapidly. The bigger rivers, it's steadier, it's slower, so you get more advanced warning there. It's the creeks that we sometimes worry about.
Yeah, we have the perfect soil for this kind of event, but we only get this kind of event
every 200 years.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Yeah, I remember checking through my insurance policy, and I know a lot of people did that right before this storm, and it only takes you out 100 years as a 100-year event for your insurance, and the governor was talking about this being a 500-year event. That there's really hardly anything to measure that with.
Especially on the storm surge out on the West Coast. I mean, the ocean just piled right on up near Fort Myers. Tampa is the opposite. opposite effect. You saw the winds just pulling all the water away from the coast. And now with all the rain that we're seeing, it's going to be filling our rivers. I mean, again, all this water that we're seeing here, you can see that fire truck there, water up to its tire, the top of the tire there. It's got to go somewhere. It's going to be going into our rivers.
Guys, one of my biggest concerns is that whether the flooding is deeper and we start to get to nighttime and people think that, okay, the rain has ended, I can go out and drive around. That's not the message we want people to take. We want them, if they're in an area where it's normally flooded, stay in, give it a good full 24 hours to make sure that the community you live in, the water's is either receded or it's low enough that you're not going to get stuck in a vehicle in water and seize your engine or have another rescue like with Tony this morning.
Or at least wait till daylight so you can see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, some scenes from the Orlo Vista neighborhood in Orange County, which if you remember during Irma, they were using those very same vehicles to get people out back then, and they're doing it again. And I guess the irony is there was a plan in place, there was money set aside to fix all that stuff, and it just, because of the way government works, it didn't happen. And people are angry, and you can feel for them. Yeah,
rightfully so. I mean, I can understand that frustration. I remember being out in Irma, and it wasn't only that. I mean, you had these big, huge pine trees that were, I mean, sprawled everywhere. It was an incredible mess. And we're going to be out and about next couple of days. This story is far from over with the flooding.
Yeah, and so we're monitoring storm surge, wind speeds, rain totals, power outages, county by county. We've got you all covered. Tony, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, I want to begin with the 5 o'clock advisory. Thanks for the conversation, guys. Good points there. Winds now at 75 miles an hour. It is speeding up, so that is the trend we would like to see. The pressure's about 986, and this will be a big problem, we do believe, for the Carolinas going forward. If you're just getting in, maybe we're doing some cleanup around the house or just working on some projects there, hurricane warnings remain in effect offshore of Flagler, Volusia, and on into Brevard County. Now, it takes a little bit of time once we get an advisory to see if there's any tweaks to the tropical storm warnings. We'll pour over that here over the next couple of minutes. As soon as we get that information, we will pass it along to you. Flood threat this evening, primarily confined to Flagler County, but we're still going to watch Daytona Beach down towards New Smyrna Beach. Flood watches are dwindling now. We just have Flagler, we have Volusia, and we have northern Brevard County. Flagler's also under that flood warning. This one is in effect now until 9 o'clock this evening. We think at that point, with Ian lifting up more towards the northeast at a little quicker pace, we're going to start to get into a better weather pattern. But not right now. Check this out. Palm Coast, Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach, recently 55-mile-an-hour winds, now starting to back down just a little bit. And through the interior, we are looking at 30 to 40-mile-an-hour winds. Some of these bands right here still producing some gustier winds. But overall, as Ian is pulling away, the winds are starting to relax slowly but surely from the southwest to the northeast up towards Titusville here. We've had some wind gusts in the range of about 50-55 miles an hour. These points right here are farther away from the radar. That's probably just above the ground 2,000 feet, closer to the surface, probably looking at about 50 to 55 mile an hour winds. And then we're a good ways away from the Jacksonville radar, but you can clearly see there's still a lot of wind energy and much higher wind offshore as that storm continues to build off towards the northeast. Peak wind gusts, by the way, for those of you that may have missed some of these numbers, Melbourne Beach, 81. Patrick Air Force Base, 61 in between. Many reports in that 60 to 70 mile an hour range. Check out New Smyrna Beach, 86 mile an hour wind gusts. Ormond Beach, 66. The end of the Flagler Beach pair has taken on some damage because of the winds up there. We haven't gotten what we call a local statement from the Jacksonville office to kind of put some winds in for Lake County, but they were comparable to Volusia County. Look at Claremont, 41 mile an hour wind gusts. So it begs the question, when do these tropical storm force winds begin to abate? Starting now in our western counties, we'll continue 7, 8 o'clock. I think we'll be in better shape in the metro areas, and then we'll probably have to wait just around the midnight hour, maybe 1, 2 o'clock at the latest. I like the overall trends. We may speed that up just a little bit. And from a rainfall standpoint, as we take a look at Futurecast with Ian now now, lifting up to the north and the east. We'll get some wraparound at least through 9, 10 o'clock, but we think thereafter we'll finally see some improvement, and that heavy rain will begin to abate. We're almost there, not quite there. There's your timing between about now and about 2 o'clock in the morning along the coast, already beginning to wind down here west of Orlando. Alex, this rain is adding up, and it means issues for folks here that live near any river or creek.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. And I've just been updating some of these river levels here. The current river levels are just under major flood stage for most spots. So you see right behind me here now, I just updated this Lower Kaiva River near Altamont, 30.7. That's well above the record, 29.7 feet. So seeing record flooding here, getting close to record flooding in St. John's. Anywhere above 4 feet is major flood stage, 4.36 feet of river level there at the St. John near Astor, getting closer and closer at 4.6. Not quite record river levels here at St. John's above Lake Harney, but getting close to it, 9.58, and above that record river level there, Shingle Creek at Campbell. So again, we're going to be dealing with these river levels, major flood stage as we go over the next few days. Again, I keep forgetting, today is Thursday, and take a look at this. So as we go from Astor, again, 4.36 foot right now, anything above 4 is major by Friday. Tomorrow afternoon, still at a major flood level. As we get into Saturday, it starts to recede, getting back down to that moderate flood level, and it's going to stay moderate as we go throughout the week and into Tuesday. So let's take a look now over at Lake Harney. Again, we're getting closer and closer to that major flood stage. We're at 9.58 right now. Anything over 10 foot is major. River's going to continue to rise as we go towards Friday into that major flood level. And again, over the next couple of days, even by Tuesday, 5 p.m., 10.7, still in that major flood level. So we're going to be dealing with these flooding conditions even as our local rivers and streams start to recede. It's got to go somewhere. It's going to be going into our major rivers, and that's going to cause some issues. So again, as we go throughout the day and we get into the nighttime hours, still first warning weather day. Don't be out on the roadways at night. There's still plenty of debris out on the roads. Water levels are still rather high. We're going to be seeing some ponding on the water, and it's hard to see that at night. So through 7 to about 3 o'clock in the morning, still dealing with some tropical storm force winds, especially offshore and near the coast. As we get towards 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, starting to improve our weather. Plenty of dry weather on the way. I know a lot of people, when they see that sunshine, it feels great, and we're going to have plenty of sunshine on the way as we go through tomorrow. Luckily, these rain chances stay very low as that dry air swings in behind Hurricane Ian, and we'll see those temperatures staying right around the mid to upper 80s with, again, low rain chances and plenty of sunshine on the way for Central Florida.
Alex, thanks. There really is water everywhere in Central Florida. It's just a remarkable sight, although we'll turn off the spigot here pretty soon, and eventually that water's going to flow to wherever it's going to flow, and usually the first stop is lakes and streams.
It is. Right now we want to take you to Maitland. That's where Anika Hope joins us right now with more flooding. And Anika, this is pretty much what we were seeing. We saw Amanda Dukes not too far from you not long ago, and she was knee-deep in it at one point.
Yeah, right behind me we have a pretty flooded parking lot, and we just saw some folks drive right through it, which is what you don't want to do, and it created a pretty big wake here. It's a little bit further than ankle deep here, and I was driving through Maitland earlier this morning, and what I want to point out is we have some down signs here, the metal here. This is something you wouldn't see if it's underneath the water here. That's something that when you're driving along, you just won't see when the water comes up so quickly. The streets here, it becomes really dry, and then all of a sudden you come upon things like this where the water is pretty deep. So that is something you have to be very, very careful of. And Lake Lily, that is very close to us. Maitland said that they actually had to rescue someone that was on in a gazebo, excuse me, and they had to go out there and bring them in from a table. They were stranded out there, and the waters have really risen there as well. A little bit like this, but even more so. So here in Maitland, it seems like it's really dry in some areas, and then you go a little bit maybe over to another street, maybe just to another corner, and then it becomes really deep with these floodwaters. But we'll send it back to you guys for now.
And Anika, can you see, is there a lake nearby, or maybe across the roadway there? Because you're on near Sandspur Road, aren't you?
We are near Sandspur Road, yes. I can't see anything, nothing in eyesight at this point, so seems like there might be a retention ditch right over here.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So she's in kind of the Lake Sibelia area for those of you who live over there, and there are actually pretty good-sized lakes on either side of Maitland Boulevard, and this would be on the south side. But like we've been saying, it's just everywhere right now.
Yeah, have you been seeing people walking by, or just mainly driving by? It looks, you know, parking lot, but have people been out and about?
Yeah, we have seen a couple of people walking by. I think the main thing, we saw some people doing some wakeboarding in this parking lot earlier, which is a little bit concerning, and so that's something, thankfully they moved along, and we're glad they're not out here still doing that.
All right, well, hopefully they or someone they know saw you talking about that road sign that was underwater and might want to rethink that whole outboard activity.
Absolutely. All right, well, Anika, thank you so much, and we'll be checking back in with you throughout the evening and the night. Meanwhile, believe it or not, our local attractions will actually begin opening up tomorrow after experiencing flooding during Ian. We've just learned Walt Disney World Resort will resume theme park and Disney Springs operations in phases starting on Friday. Operation hours have not yet been announced, but as soon as we know, we'll let you know.
Line workers are placing a switch to restore power in a neighborhood in Wildwood in Sumter County. Now they are up there in the bucket truck. Duke Energy says they are working quickly and safely to repair lines, although in Central Florida, about anywhere from a half to 3/4 of Duke Energy customers right now are having power problems.
And FPL, they were saying, you know, it's not necessarily just about restoring, but they may have to rebuild part of their system. So it could be a while for a lot of people, depending upon who your provider is. So patience is key. Meanwhile, you're seeing Florida crews still working out on power lines. Thousands of residents actually in Brevard County, they're still without power as well. You can see video again of utility crews across the county helping restore power. We got crews coming in from all over the country as well. Florida Power and Light has been restoring power in between bands of severe weather, sending crews today to assess and repair downed power lines. FPL's restoration workforce throughout the state includes 21,000 workers, get this, from 30 different states.
This is what we do. When the lights go out, we go to work. That's just what, that's what we do. If it's not an emergency, if we're in your area, we know you're out. We're trying to figure out why you're out.
And remember to stay clear of standing water and down power lines for obvious reasons. To report down power lines, though, you can use the FPL mobile app or call 1-800-4-OUTAGE.
One Central Florida county that is still under the gun right now is Volusia County, and starting last night and into today, folks there just can't seem to get a break from the wind and that pounding rain.
Yeah, Gail Pascal-Brown, she hasn't been able to get a break either. I believe she's the one that's out in Volusia County for us right now.
Now, viewers in Central Florida have been sending me pictures of flooding in New Smyrna Beach, and you're not going to believe or recognize some of these iconic places. Now, they tell me there's water everywhere with no place to go. This is a picture of Flagler Tavern right on the main drag of Flagler Avenue, and it suddenly turned into beachfront property, the water nipping at the lower deck. Now, this is another image of downtown New Smyrna Beach looking like a swamp. Some of the quaint cottage homes they're known for, flooded. Now, this is video from the Spruce Creek Fly-In community in Port Orange. The viewer's pool in her backyard has been completely flooded by what was the golf course behind her house, the 16th hole to be exact. And no surprise that both these Volusia County viewers have no power. In the newsroom, Michelle Meredith, WESH 2 News.
All right, so we know that water rescues are taking place all across the central part of the state, all the way from where Ian made landfall, all the way here into Central Florida.
Yeah, we want to get you out to Osceola County right now. In Kissimmee, Luana Munoz has been there. And Luana, what's going on now? Earlier you were showing us people being rescued. Is that still the case, or what's going on where you are now?
You know, Summer, I was last told that there were 2 more addresses that they were going to go check on to see if there were people inside. I want to get out the way so you guys can see just how severe the flooding is. I'm showing you a different angle now. This shows you a wider spread of this area here in Good Samaritan Village. That's supposed to be a golf course, and right behind it are all of the communities. But I don't know if you can see it, Gary, if you could zoom in, maybe it's behind the tree now. There are the National Guard's vehicles, the ones that are on the big giant wheels that can go through these floodwaters. They are rescuing people still. It looks like they're going to come out. The bad news in this is that the good news is they've taken out 50 people already. The bad news is they can only rescue or only go to the homes for people who have called 911 or people who have concerns about those that are out there. They do believe that there are some 300 people still living in this facility here, living inside of their homes, who haven't dialed 911 and who are just trying to wait it out. I just got finished talking with the commander here, and he says that is bad because there's no power here. They've had to shut off the power in order to get in and out. For precautions and safety. And the problem is, on top of that, these floodwaters aren't going anywhere. As you know, after you have a hurricane, something like this is all the runoff. It's going into the low-lying levels or areas, and it's just going to get worse and worse. It's going to rise, they say. So if people don't call in, if people don't say, hey, I need you to come out now and get me, they're just creating a greater problem for themselves. That's what the commander was saying, that they are here now trying to get out as many people as they possibly can. And, later on down the road, it's going to become more and more difficult as their efforts are going to get spread thin in other areas. So once again, this is the Good Samaritan Village in Kissimmee. We know that it floods, but never, residents tell me they've never seen it like this. We're going to pan over here so you can see some of the rescue vehicles down there. You see that we've got Osceola County Sheriff's, Osceola Fire and Rescue. We have the Florida National Guard. Just near that fire truck over there, there was, I can't see it still, but there was a coach bus, busing people who needed to go to the shelter. They were going to take them to a safe location if they didn't have any friends or family to greet them. But again, this is just, the result of what's occurred out here with Hurricane Ian. They're hoping that more people, they believe that there are some 300 people still inside of these residences here, and they're hoping that people will call them and let them know, because they cannot go and search for you and try to rescue you if they have no idea that you might be inside of those homes. They can't force people to come out. So they're doing the best that they can today. They've been out here since 9 o'clock this morning. It's now, 5:15, so it has been an all-day operation, and they could continue to stay out here to try and bring more people out, but it all depends on how many phone calls that they get. They told me that they had 2 more residences to check on, and that could be what we just saw, the truck that was coming in with some more individuals that they were bringing to a safe space. But reporting live in Osceola County, I'm Luana Munoz. You guys, back to you.
Yeah, before you go real quick, Luana, we know that Good Samaritan Village is kind of sandwiched in between 2 big highways, Old Cheney and U.S. Highway 192, major roadway through Kissimmee, and there really isn't a lot of place for water to go in that neighborhood. And you talked about a little bit of the history there. They know about this. What do they tell you about flooding in the neighborhood in the past?
So they say that this is just typically an area that floods, and if you can look at the terrain, I don't know if you can get a good image here, maybe that way, Gary, but you can see how the water can easily just fall right off of the freeway here, and it dips into this low-lying area. Again, the residents here and others say that, well, Good Samaritan Village typically does flood, but this is the worst that they have ever seen it. I mean, this is completely covered. Water, I haven't heard of water going into anybody's homes, so they might be a little bit propped up, but it's literally right there at the door. There's just no way for someone to get in and out. There's no way for someone to drive their vehicle. They're trapped inside of there unless someone goes in and actually physically rescues them. So again, they're just doing their best to get everyone out who wants to be rescued today. And they're hoping that more people will, again, call in and let them know, hey, we need your assistance, because they are here to help, and they want to stay as long as they possibly can, but they only had 2 more homes that they had to get to this evening, and that's for those who did call in. They want people to just be aware. you know, there's down power lines everywhere. Just to be aware of what the situation, and when there are rescue efforts like this going on, you have to take advantage of it when you can, because then they might be called to another location. So again, this is the Good Samaritan Village, and 50 people so far have been taken out and either reunited with their family members or they're heading to a shelter tonight.
And what was their overall mood? Would you say they were shocked or more so relieved?
Oh, yes. Are you kidding me? They came off of those trucks. This is an elderly community as well. So a lot of them had oxygen tanks. Some of them needed medical assistance. They were beyond happy. They were smiling, actually, saying, you know, I'm blessed. They said that they were able to make it through the night. They just heard all the wind and the howlings. One gentleman told me that he slept through all of it, and he didn't realize what he was surrounded by until he woke up the following morning, and his son was here waiting for him. He was obviously concerned, not knowing whether or not his dad was going to make it out safely, but it was nice to see that reunion, and it's nice to see, you know, couples that were coming off. These are people in their 80s, their 90s, their 70s, and able to get out and make it safely. So it is quite a good sight to see. I guess the silver lining, again, I can't stress that enough. When you have a hurricane like this, the good news is that no one was severely injured and no deaths have been reported.
Yeah,
Back
interesting.
To you guys.
Yeah, something that you said, we'll kind of pick up on it. There's a psychology involved in these situations, and if you live in a neighborhood and you know it floods from time to time and you hear that there's a hurricane, you just kind of go about your business.
Right.
But once the water gets where it is and you're trapped, and that's the key word, the whole psychology changes, and that's why we end up in these situations that we're in right now.
Well, fortunately, we were prepared, and we have people right there willing and ready to go and help rescue.
Yeah, with the right equipment to do it.
With the right equipment, that part. All right, I want to take you on another quick little tour around. I'm going to take you to Flagler County right now. The sheriff's office there sent us some pictures, and you're looking at them. Deputies strongly discourage residents from driving around today, and you can see why. I mean, just water everywhere. Trees are down, power lines are down, the roads are flooded. It is just dangerous to be out there. They say just stay inside. That's the best way for you to stay safe.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those big vehicles that we were talking about. Look down at the Lake Eola band shell, and most of it, yeah, it's pretty much all underwater right here. This actually is not an unusual sight. This has happened before in some of the previous storms, and I guess the question I would have is, are people using the walking path? Can they still do that? Because the folks down at Lake Eola, they're used to their lifestyle and the park and the band shell and all that's involved down there. Yeah, it's a really big part of it. And the thing I remember about this, though, is you think that this will kind of drain away pretty quickly, and it doesn't. It stays around for a really long time.
It's incredible, too, because it's so far inland. You may not think like we'd see this in downtown Orlando, right? You know, because it comes on the West Coast Category 4, and now the East Coast is Category 1, and still we're seeing this in downtown in the middle of the state. You know, it's remarkable to see. We're actually going to have a live report coming up at 5:30 from Amanda Dukes, so she'll be there and she'll give us a look from the ground.
All right. Now we'll go to Christina Watkins, who's reporting in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood. And Christina, give us the rundown on what's happening there.
Well, Jim, what's happening right now is a lot of flooding. The rain is off and on. It's cold. It's really cold. And the scary part about what we're seeing here, Jim, in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood is drivers, some of them going very fast down these flooded roads. Let's take a look here. Our photographer Hudson is showing you. So right now in this intersection, this is West 20th Street and Airport Boulevard. Right here at this intersection is fine, right? A little ways down the road, it starts to get deep, but where it gets even deeper, we can pan around this way, is right down this road. And there is a car coming at this very second. Seminole County Sheriff's Office is asking you to stay home if you can. They do not want you driving down these flooded roads because not only is it dangerous for you, but it's also potentially detrimental to your neighbors. You see these waves that are washing up as you go down these roads? It can push up into people's driveways. driveways, maybe push up into their homes. If there's a car parked on the side of the road, it can get into their car. And that leads to even more expenses, costly expenses to fix any potential water damage that may come, not necessarily from the storm, but by somebody who is driving down these roads. And that is against what emergency leaders are encouraging you to do. Obviously, if you have to get out, if you are essential personnel and you have to go out and about to fulfill your duties, drive safely, do so carefully, but it is not recommended that you get out right now. This is historic flooding, guys, what we are seeing. We're seeing down power lines like this right here, and it's very difficult to actually witness this even from our own two eyes. We are in safe proximity from it, but within close enough to be able to see it clearly, and it's still hard to notice. That's why when you're out and about driving, that's why they don't want you to do that, really. They don't want you to be out, because if I can't even see it from my naked eye, look at this. Driving right underneath the, oh, good job. Or am I speaking too soon? Spoke too soon. They hesitated, waited, thought about it, and kept going. That is scary. You can see the power line is tried to be labeled here with an orange ribbon and a white ribbon here, trying to identify that this power line is here, but it's still difficult and still challenging to see. Let's take a look here at more cars driving down the road. Earlier today, we saw the National Guard. They are driving around Seminole County, different neighborhoods here, trying to assess damage and really trying to see who still needs to be rescued at this point in time. We know this historic flooding so far. Let me tell you, there are so many homes impacted by this, so many, more than 1,000 at this point in time, all across Seminole County. And there is a lot of debris. There's a lot of work crews are going to have to do. About 1 million cubic yards so far of debris. That's how much they estimate that they're going to have to collect between now and who knows how long. So they really ask you to be patient. Give them some time. Stay inside right now, because the rain is continuing here, and this historic flooding we are seeing in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood, it is just devastating, and it's really hard for a lot of homeowners to know what they're going to have to go through to pick up these pieces. Jim?
All right, Christina, actually, I have a question. I mean, this is the second time we've seen a driver go underneath the power line. One, can you tell? Can they see it? And then what? Can you see like the expression on their face? We didn't see it last time, but like even this person behind you.
That's the car.
Oh,
that's the one. Yeah.
Well, that's the same car. That's the same exact car that went through. They, you know, they just look like they're minding their own business, taking a joyride. And why? I don't know. No, it's not. I don't want to assume, but we are now just trying to signal people to slow down. And when we do that, they're really grateful for us letting them know that, hey, this is the down power line over here. The water gets a little bit deep over here, but look at the waves that are splashing up. It appears that these are just people who live in this neighborhood who are coming through the neighborhood. But again, I don't want to assume that they are not essential personnel, but for somebody to go straight through it, I can tell you, I did see essential personnel out here earlier. The Seminole County Sheriff's Office, they themselves got to the power line and turned around. I posted that video on my Twitter page. So if they are turning around, you should too. Even if you are essential personnel, it's not safe for you to go under a down power line, regardless of your reason of being out and about. Jim, Summer?
Yeah, and based on how the neighborhood is laid out there, you can go plowing through a street like that with that much water. You could send that water into somebody's house, and that's going to start something that's going to end really badly. I did want to ask you, Christina, you're born and raised in Central Florida. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Never. Jim, I have never seen anything like this before. You know, I spent the last 4 years working in New Orleans, Southeast Louisiana. Shout out to now half of my heart, of course. My heart is always here in Central Florida, but that was really the first time I witnessed traumatic flooding. Last year, Southeast Louisiana and the Gulf Coast went through Hurricane Ida. Now here we are in Central Florida, back in my hometown, dealing with historic floodings. So many people who are devastated and don't really know what to do, because our infrastructure is built to take on a lot of water, and it reacts very well. We are seeing some of the water go down quickly. However, when you get that much rain and that amount of time, which we've seen over the last several hours and we'll continue to see here in Seminole County, nothing you do will be able to handle that. And that is why this is just really difficult to see as I look around and I see people out and about trying to survey their own damage. It's really, really heartbreaking. But It's inspiring, Jim, to see people helping people, neighbors helping neighbors. You know how we do in Central Florida and all across the state. We're going to look out for one another. But the best thing you can do right now to do that is stay home. Don't try and drive through these flooded streets, Jim. Like you said, it's going to start something that's going to be a problem when that water pushes up in a driveway or into somebody's home or car. So just be safe.
Yeah, I was just saying that Christina could give tutorials on what not to do in Central Florida right now based on what we have seen happen behind her.
Very cringeworthy.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's left of Ian off the coast, still having an impact on Central Florida?
Yes.
Yep. And it's a hurricane, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's 5 o'clock advisory. I was going to say that's the big point we want to make here. And it's not letting up yet along the coast, especially in Flagler and Volusia counties there. There's the path. If there's any good news with the 5 o'clock advisory, it's the forward speed is once again picking back up, and the pressure's about 986, and the winds, as you can see, are going up. Now, that means that there are hurricane warnings now for coastal Carolinas, but for us, over the next couple of hours through about 8, 9 o'clock through the interior, the winds start to come back down. As we get through the overnight, the conditions will improve along the coast, and then cleanup will begin in earnest beginning tomorrow.
Yeah, you want people to wait. You want them to go out now. As messy as it is, and I noticed today, just coming into the station from not being too far away, there's a kind of an overall shredded nature to the landscape right now. You guys probably saw it. We all probably saw it.
Branches all over.
Yeah, unique to this storm, I think.
I think I've gotten about 12 videos from neighbors in my community, and a couple of them were using canoes to get in and around because the water was that high, but no trees were down. I lost a couple of solar panels, but other than that, my house is still standing. Yeah, so I'm grateful.
It's good stuff.
All right, let's get to it, Connie.
Yeah, all right, let's take a look now at the update, the 5 o'clock advisory. As we just mentioned, things are getting a little bit more feisty with Ian, who's continuing now to lift up to the north. In case you missed it, the advisories have not changed through the interior. That's the big takeaway here, and that's why we want you to still hunker down. Along the coast, we have hurricane warnings offshore. Again, obviously, boaters are not going to be out in this type of weather. That would not be very wise. We take a look at the flood threat tonight. Mainly Flagler County, but we're still getting a couple of pretty good bands here into Volusia County and northern Brevard County. We do have a flood watch through Friday morning here. Again, the flood warning till 9 o'clock tonight up here in coastal Flagler County from Marineland back towards Palm Coast. Beverly Beach, that does include you. Flagler Beach, that does include you. And even Bunnell, right there off to the south and west of Palm Coast. Now, the reason why the winds really picked up last night along the coast and continue to be howling as we have a big area of high pressure to the north of Ian. The tandem of high and low hurricane and the strong high is creating some intense winds along the coast. We've had some wind gusts over 80 miles an hour in portions of coastal eastern central Florida east of I-95. Good news here, look at the wind gusts off towards the west. They are back below 40 miles an hour. That's some good news. You can clearly see where the center of circulation now is with Ian. Now that it's over those warm Gulf Stream waters, two things are going to happen. It may wrap around some more intense winds here overnight tonight, and it will continue to get stronger while it lifts to the north. Now, Alex has been a big help for me today, running the velocity winds. And the point we want to make here, as he's kind of throwing in some of these winds, is that they're still very strong. Might not be 75 miles an hour, but it's probably going to be in the 50 to 55, maybe 60 mile an hour range. Remember, we're shooting this from Melbourne, so it's kind of an elevated estimate of the winds, but down at the surface, they'll be just a little bit lower. And then as we work our way up towards Palm Coast, this is the Jacksonville radar. Also, a good ways to the north is the radar. So we take these numbers and we kind of estimate, bring them down just a little bit, and you're coming up with some numbers in that 45 to 55 mile an hour range right there in that flood advised, flood warned area. Peak wind gusts since midnight at the airport, 61, 67 back towards Daytona Beach. And there are many weather flow sites in between away from the airports that were certainly a lot higher. But today's rainfall is the highest on record, a 200-year flood type of a rainfall. Now, the winds, you want to know when that's going to relax? That's going to be late tonight and tomorrow tomorrow along the coast, and then from there, things will begin to improve. Friday getting back to normal. And Alex, looking like a pretty good day as the storm system moves to the north and east away from us.
Yeah, that's right. You know, finally we're going to be seeing more sunshine as we go through the day. I have the 7-day forecast in just a moment. We're also going to be dealing with just nice dry conditions. So on the backside of the system, we're going to have some chance for some of our river levels to start to drain as we go towards the end of the week. I want to take a look at some of these rain totals. Again, here you can see a lot of this purple and the white here. This is all between about 10 to 15 inches of rain falling within about a 24 to 36 hour period. Again, that is why we have such flooding out there. Luckily, up towards the north and the west, those rain totals were quite significantly less. You go from 10 inches of rain there in northeastern Lake County. You just go over towards the west near the villages in Leesburg, down to about 7 inches of rain up near Ocala to about 3 to 5 inches. And again, all this rain has to go somewhere, and it's going to be entering into our river systems. And as we take a look at the river forecast here, flood right now, or it's up to 4.36 feet right now, expected to continue to increase as we go through the day tomorrow up to 4.4, which would be in that major flood zone. As we go through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, still in the moderate flooding. I want to take a look at one more area here. This is above Lake Harney. Above 10 feet is major. We're already getting close to that major flood stage. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the way to Tuesday, still in that major flood stage. But again, as we go into the end of next week, we start to see that drier air moving on in. Guys.
All right, Alex, thank you. And we continue to have a team of reporters spread out across Central Florida. And basically what we're trying to do is show you the damage so that you don't have to actually physically go out. So earlier, Amanda Dukes, she hitched a ride through some knee-deep water at an extended stay hotel that had to be evacuated, or some people evacuated. And now here she's hanging out with some swans, Jim.
Yeah, that's right. Amanda, you go from one calamity downtown, the traffic signal that was on the ground, still working, and now you're at Lake Eola and you have some new pals.
I do have some new friends. You know, Jim, now that the weather's cleared, it would actually be nice to come here and just see Lake Eola, with one big exception. Check this out. This bench I am sitting on, the water is coming just up beneath it. Lake Eola very much overflowed its banks last night. I think everybody in Central Florida is very familiar with Lake Eola. It's often referred to as the jewel of downtown Orlando. And because of all that rain from Hurricane Ian, it has overflowed its banks. And if we can't, you're looking at some of our duck friends here who've been thinking we have food, and unfortunately we don't. But James, let's show them where we are standing right here. I'm going to kick around a little. This is normally the Lake Eola walkway where you would walk, and this is covered in quite a bit of water. And then you've got the, just to try and orient you, you've got the fountain out there, and then over to our right here, that is where you would normally get on the swan boats. It looks like they removed the swan boats prior to the storm, but that whole area, including the little restaurant here, the Relax Grill, underwater today. So hopefully once this dries out, it's just a matter of cleaning up and not any damage. But, you know, I've been reporting in Orlando for 25 years now, covered a lot of hurricanes, and I have never seen this flooding at Lake Eola. I have never seen the water come up this far to the point that the whole sidewalk is covered. And, you know, earlier today, Robinson Street, which runs alongside the north side of Lake Eola, was completely underwater, and police still have it blocked off at Roslyn and down at Eola. You can't get through because there's still enough ponding water on Robinson that they don't want people driving through there, but it's improved a lot since this morning. But yeah, it's pretty unusual to see you've got ducks swimming where people are normally sitting on picnic blankets. If you've ever been here for the 4th of July, that's the grassy area where, you know, tens of thousands of people set up to watch the fireworks, and now it's pretty much become a duck pond. And lots of people are coming out to check this out. I know it's been, you know, on social media, so a lot of people are coming to take pictures and just see it for themselves. I will tell you, we did hear that earlier today, when the weather was still bad, 2 people were swimming in the lake. That is very illegal. You could get in serious trouble for it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's dangerous. I believe the ordinance says that you're not supposed to swim in any city lake unless it's posted for swimming. This lake is not posted for swimming. There's all kinds of hazards. So, yeah. if anybody got any ideas from what they saw this morning, it's probably not a good idea to do that. But hopefully these floodwaters will recede soon. So many people love to walk around here, jog around here. I didn't have a chance to check if there's any events coming up at the band shell. But yeah, we got a lot of people walking over there. So kind of a mess at Lake Eola. Reporting live in downtown Orlando, Amanda Dukes. Back to you guys.
It's hard to tell where to even walk. I mean, that's where people go to walk and run, and you see people over there, they're just kind of looking around because, yeah, the sidewalk is, you can't see it. And, yeah, hopefully they're going to be safe because you never know what's underneath the water either. So, anyway.
Yeah,
Amanda,
I mean, we're only up to our shins, and we've got these good boots on. But, you know, you make a good point, Summer. It's probably not too smart for a lot of people to start walking through this water, and I'm sure the park rangers don't want that. But hopefully it'll go down soon. The ducks like it.
Yeah, I'll bet they do. Happy. Yeah, this is going to be a gut punch for a lot of people, though, Amanda. I mean, that's the place where we take people or tell them to go when they come to visit us here in Central Florida. Yeah. It's busy all hours of the day and night. Gets a ton of use, and people are sitting at home and are looking at this just like those people behind you, and they're stunned. I mean, we're all stunned by this.
We are.
Yeah, because as I said, I've been reporting in Orlando 25 years. I've never seen Lake Eola like this. And you know that lawn behind us, I don't know if we can see it, James. You maybe just give us a sense of the direction. So that green lawn that's sort of opposite the band shell where they have that sand sculpture of the woman lying on her side, that's all flooded. And I know one of the local downtown private schools affiliated with one of the churches uses that lawn for their recess, for their outdoor activities. So hopefully the floodwaters will recede pretty soon. But yeah, you make a good point, Jim. This is what people think of when they think of Orlando. So to see this flooded definitely you know, drives the point home of just how much rain we got. I mean, I know our meteorologists have been saying that it was the wettest day in Orlando history yesterday since they've been keeping records. And this is a pretty good representation of it, seeing Lake Eola way up over its banks.
All right, Amanda Dukes, thank you. You know, you're a pro, and she's in covering this when she says, yeah, it's only ankle deep right here.
Yeah,
so
not so bad. Knows right where the path is, too. Yeah, you can tell she's been around there a time or two. So let's go back out to the coast. There was a time today when getting to New Smyrna Beach was darn near impossible.
Yeah, but we know someone who did it. He's standing right here, David Daniel, and he says he's even been seeing, what, catfish was that, swimming on the road?
Yeah, at the last stop we had there, actually the stop before last, there was a catfish that was in the middle of the shoulder along State Road 44. We coaxed it into the ditch, so hopefully it can go to safer ground. Now, you know, there are places in the United States where actually ferry boat systems are part of the highway system. You take the highway to a spot, you get on a ferry, you go to the other side, and you continue on in Europe as well. Well, State Road 44 just may be needing that because look at all of the water. We have moved significantly east from where we were in our last location, which all locations were in the city of New Smyrna Beach. You can see now as people are plowing through, they are heading toward the bridge that goes over the intercoastal and over to the beach side. Water is several inches deep. They keep going on through. You can see here. Now here's a gentleman that just pulled over. I don't know exactly what the issue is with him. People are going through. We've had a lot of law enforcement go through here, a lot of fire trucks as well. Oh, it looks like they're dropping somebody off here. So it's just basically somebody helping a buddy out, giving them a lift. But as you see, as we go up toward the bridge, there is water everywhere, both sides of State Road 44. People are being cautious as they drive through. It's kind of one of these cases where, you know, you're always told if you don't know what's underneath the roadway, don't continue, you know, turn around, don't drown. But I think it's one of these cases where people are seeing other people going through. They're taking a measure of how deep the water is and deciding whether or not they have the right type of vehicle to continue on. There you've got another pickup truck that's going on through. It is just remarkable how much water we have here. Hey there, how are you? Yeah, do you live back here?
Wait, that fella there's going to pick me up and take me home.
What do you think of all this water?
It's just crazy. My van broke down over there. I got water in the tailpipe, and so I tried to get it towed. Nobody would show up.
Now, do you live here or are you visiting?
Yeah,
here?
I live in Cedar Dunes.
Yeah? How long have you lived here?
13 years.
This kind of water?
Never seen it like this ever.
Now, did you ride out the storm here?
Yeah, I did.
And
my fence was falling over, and that's why I came down here to get 2x4s to brace my fence back up. Never made it.
Will you ride it out again?
No, never. Never. No, I won't do this again.
And why is that? I mean, a lot of people always are on the fence on whether to stay or go. Why would you not stay again?
I wouldn't want to go through this again. You know? This breaks your heart when you see stuff like this. And then when some people don't even stop to give you a little hand, you know. I don't know.
Are you going to be all right?
Yeah, I got him waiting for me. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
You know, over the years, I've heard that a gazillion times, and it's often from people who I've interviewed the day before the storm, or you stay or go, and they say, well, you know, I'm going to stay, I'm going to protect my house and all that. The day after, often, they say, I wish I never would have done it. I tell anybody else to never do it again. That's exactly why the experts will say, if you know that something serious is coming in, this is clearly serious, that you do not avoid and do not ignore an evacuation order. As we said, got some power trucks going through here. I mentioned earlier how many people in Volusia County are without power. The last time I checked the FPL website, it was like 140,000 people without power. Obviously, the crews are rolling in, trying to get things accomplished. All kinds of folks doing their best to move around out of necessity. Hopefully, we haven't seen a whole lot of people just coming in because they're curious, because it really is a dangerous condition. Water everywhere in New Smyrna Beach. Water everywhere, and people are plowing through. Law enforcement is monitoring the situation as we stand here right now. Reporting live in New Smyrna Beach, Dave McDaniel, WESH 2 News.
Dave, I'm just stunned at how many people are driving by you right now, because we've looked at Rose, we've looked at I-4. This is the busiest road that I have seen so far today in Central Florida.
It's quite a parade. There's a lot of people coming in and out. And again, you know, like that gentleman there, I mean, he kind of felt like he had no choice. His van broke down. He was trying to fix his fence. But I think he had some sage advice there about whether or not riding out a storm in an area that is either low-lying or in a delicate area. And again, with Ian, it made a lot of areas that perhaps people felt like they were perfectly safe vulnerable. I mean, this is historic. It is unbelievable. I mean, I haven't seen this kind of water ever in 34 years here. Right there he is, getting a lift. And again, the water is really, really deep. And you know, it is quite a scene. Both sides of State Road 44, all the way from I-95, and we're at the base of the bridge going over to the beach side.
All right, Dave McDaniel, thank you. You know, Jim, the guy he talked to said his car stalled, or his truck stalled, because he was out there trying to fix his fence and no tow truck to be found, which, I mean, we know that's going to be the case. Another reason, an incentive not to go out. You know, I know people have this overwhelming urge. They want to fix it. They want their home to be what it was. But you just really got to wait it out right now, because you could end up like that man. Fortunately, he was able to eventually get a ride, but I would assume his car is still sitting there
it's
in
still
the water,
on the side of the road. I felt bad for him when he looked into the camera with that forlorn look and said nobody would stop and help me, and that kind of stung a little bit, because we're known for helping people here in Central Florida. So we just need to kind of refocus and get back on our game.
Yeah. All right. Well, want to switch gears now and take you back out to Maitland. WESH 2's Anika Hope is at Lake Lily, and this is another place where people, kind of like downtown, people like to jog around Lake Lily and get exercise. We do always see the ducks, but it looks like they're a little bit closer than normal. Anika?
Yes, they are. I actually love to come to this park myself, and I have never seen it quite like this. It is completely flooded. Normally you can walk along right here, and this is all the way flooded, all the way around. And yes, these ducks are swimming right underneath the picnic table where you would normally sit. They're swimming all around the trash cans because the water has come up this far. We saw some people walking around in this earlier, which is something you don't want to do. But normally you can walk out here, look a little bit into the lake. This is normally a lake right over here. It's obviously come up much, much further. We'll bring you a little bit further over here. This wooden walkway right there, that is a walkway you can normally come across and look out at the water, it is completely submerged right now. And that's something I was driving along this morning and noticed and just was shocked and did a double take. And I'll bring you a little bit further over here. They have a gondola across the lake here. It's a very popular spot for a gazebo, excuse me, thank you. And that's a very popular spot for events and baby showers, that sort of thing. And earlier today, that is where Maitland police, I believe, they actually rescued a woman who was stranded out there, and they had to bring her in because she was completely surrounded by all of this water. But we've seen lots of folks walking around just taking a look at everything, and all of this water is just completely keeps coming up. There's some playgrounds nearby that are also completely submerged. So definitely not a place to walk all the way around right now.
Gotta wonder, do you know how she got stuck out there at the gazebo, Anika?
I believe she was trying to find some shelter, and it turned out all the water came up while she was sitting there. So.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough being outside during a hurricane like that.
Absolutely. That's why they're telling people to stay inside. All right, Anika, thank you so very much for that report. And we're going to continue to just kind of bounce around Central Florida, or the state of Florida, actually, as we see this damage. And, you know, it's kind of counterintuitive. You think that, okay, the storm is gone, it's off the coast, but it's now strengthened into a hurricane again. And we're seeing a lot of the flood threats still just throughout our state.
Yeah, we don't have to go far to find scenes like we just saw. Actually, Lake Lily's not far from where we are. It's right down the road. And
downtown.
This is playing out in neighborhoods all across Central Florida right now. And, you know, Tony, hopefully we've turned the spigot off for most people. And this water, wherever it's got to go, will eventually get there. And then, man, do we have a cleanup ahead of us.
But let's just kind of accentuate the point you made about the rain. We came in wet. We had 5.39 inches of rain today, Jim, in one day. And the normal monthly September rainfall is almost 6.5 inches of rain. For the month of September, we've had 22.42 inches of rain, most of that occurring here over the last 48 hours. And so that's why we got these issues. No matter where you're looking, no matter where you live, you know that there are water issues around. So we can't stress this enough. Just it's not a night to be driving around, especially after dark with all the rain. Now, Ian, back to hurricane status, lifting up to the northeast now at about 10 miles an hour. We still have inland tropical storm warnings for Orlando, Lake, Sanford in Seminole County, over towards Osceola County, and up and down the coast. However, just offshore, we do have hurricane warnings in from time to time this afternoon. As our reporters have been out in the field, they've been battered by some of those hurricane force winds. The other thing that we've been continuing to hone in on is the flood threat. And we're still watching this here on into Flagler County. In fact, not only do we have flood watches for Volusia and northern Brevard County, we have a flood warning. It's a little bit more serious, step up from the watches, of course. Marineland, Palm Coast, Beverly Beach, over towards Flagler Beach and Bunnell. You can see here we have flood warnings in effect through 9 o'clock tonight. Now, the byproduct of a front in the Ohio Valley and a storm, in this case a hurricane, you get the two of them and you get that funneling effect in between. The air is being forced towards the coast. That's why we've been talking about storm surge. We've been talking about the river's backing up with the air coming in the opposite direction, and we are still dealing here with tropical storm force winds along the coast. A little bit of a tick down here finally from Orlando off towards the west, back towards Bushnell, the villages, up towards Ocala and Denellen. You can see the center of our storm now lifting up to the northeast. The winds here have been pinging 45 to about 55, close to 60 miles an hour in and around Oak Hill and New Smyrna Beach. More of the same as we head up towards the north. Sorry about that, Alex, and to me the jump there on you. But as we head up towards Jacksonville, you can see the radar there pinging 55 to about 60 miles an hour up and down I-95 with that rain coming on it. One other thing I wanted to show you, since midnight tonight, we've had winds in that 50 to 70 mile an hour range. Prior to midnight, we had wind gusts along the coast that exceeded 80 miles an hour. The number one question posed to me today on all of my social media outlets is when is the wind and when is the rain going to go away? Well, let's take a look at that. We take a look at the forecast at 7 o'clock. Along the coast, still have some of those tropical storm force winds. By about 9:30, 10, we're speeding it up. The weather is improving. You can see tropical storm gust along the coast, but overall, A steady diet of about 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, and all of that energy with Ian is lifting up to the north and the east. The good news is the models have sped up the arrival of those decreasing winds as Ian has moved a little bit more quickly to the north and the east. Let's take a look now at Futurecast here, and you can see as Ian pulls away, the back edge of the rains along the coast. But again, as Ian is speeding on up, the core of the heaviest rains getting offshore before midnight. So we're going to tweak that graphic that we made earlier about when things are going to be ending based on the afternoon model runs that are now beginning to come into Central Florida. So we're going to speed this up. We're going to go from about 10 o'clock to midnight. It's already happening here, and we'll put in this corridor right now through about 6 o'clock in the evening. So just a minor adjustment based on the things we've been seeing. Outside, it is a messy day. Alex, the rain is still coming down big time, and that is leading to all sorts of problems as we've been showing our viewers around Central Florida.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, here's a live look over at there at World Center Drive. You know, the rain is still coming down in spots, but luckily from the southwest up towards the north and the east, we will gradually start to clear things down. Here's, of course, the look at the Bandshell and Lake Eola with the water just covering up over those chairs. Let's take a look at just how much rain we've seen over the past couple days. Again, it has been soaking rain showers. We've, as Tony alluded to there, we've gotten almost a full month's of rain within a day, and there's no wonder why I have such flooding. All this where you see this purple here, that's about 10 to upwards of 15 inches of rain across this swath from up and along I-4 from Polk County all the way through Osceola County, almost all of Orange County, Seminole County, and into Volusia County dealing with those heavy rains. Now, the next thing we're going to have to watch as well as Hurricane Ian continues to pull away from the coast is on the other side of that storm, those northeast breezes starting to bring in that ocean water. That's going to cause some storm surge conditions and some storm surge impacts there along Flagler County coastline, even parts of Volusia County. We're going to be watching out for some of that storm surge effect here. And remember, all of our rivers, they have to drain somewhere, and they drain out into our oceans. As the ocean keeps piling up along the coastline across the shore, that water in the river doesn't really have anywhere to go. So we're going to be watching out for 1 to 3 foot storm surge there. 3 to 6 in some spots. Astor is where we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. River near Astor, it floods during our normal summertime storms. And again, we've gotten lots of rain, upwards about 10 inches of rain around the river levels in Astor. So let's take a look at the current river levels right now. It just keeps updating about every 5 minutes or so. 30.7 inches of rain. Little Wekiva River near Altamont, that's well above the record of 29.7. We're getting closer and closer to the record level there in Astor. St. John's above Lake Harney, getting closer and closer to that record as well. And look at Shingle Creek at Campbell. Now above that record, 62.9, beating that record of 62.3. So when will the rivers actually begin to subside is going to take time. Again, the rivers take a lot longer to drain than your neighborhood does, and we're going to be dealing with the major flood stage through Friday as we go this again, St. John's River at Astor, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, still dealing with the moderate flooding over at just north of Lake Harney, even worse with the flooding. We're already almost to that major flood stage. Flood stage here is 10 feet. We're going to be above that 10-foot mark as we continue throughout the day or throughout the week into at least Tuesday. One look at the 7-day forecast. Better weather is on the way. We are going to start to dry out. That dry air will move in behind Hurricane Ian, and as we go throughout the week, very low rain chances, thankfully, as we go through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Still about a 10 to 20% coverage of rain, so we'll have some time for those river levels to start to relax and go back down. Guys.
From WESH-TV, this is continuing coverage of Ian.
The amount of water that's been rising and will likely continue to rise today, even as the storm is passing, is basically a 500-year flood event.
I wasn't expecting this. Irma came up to about halfway of my property. This time it's like, holy mackerel.
From coast to coast, the destruction from the Hurricane Ian is devastating.
It is. This video is showing some of the damage in Fort Myers as the storm moves away from Florida. It is widespread power outages and major flooding that people are now dealing with.
We have our team of reporters spread out all across Central Florida, getting the latest look at the conditions.
First, want to start with WESH-TV's Christina Watkins, who's in Seminole County in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood. Christina?
Good evening, Jim and Summer. We've been out here for the last several hours giving you a look at some of the historic flooding so many homeowners have to deal with here in Sanford and in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood. You are taking a look at some of the standing water along Airport Boulevard and West 20th Street. We're seeing drivers out and about going through these flooded roads, but that is so dangerous, guys. If you can stay home, please do so. This historic flooding that you are seeing right now all across Seminole County, not just here in Sanford. We've seen it in Altamont Springs, Winter Springs, Wekiva, really all over the county. It impacted more than 1,000 homes. That is according to county leaders, and they are expecting even more people to be affected by this as they go around the county and assess damage. Taking a look over here, if I can have my photographer Hudson show you what else we're seeing in this corner. We're seeing a lot of downed power. And this is really scary because, number one, you don't know if it's live. Number two, it's really hard to see. It's hard for us to see, and we're pretty close. We're at a safe distance, but still close by. It's difficult for us to see from where we're standing, and even harder if you are in a car. But it looks like somebody is trying to make their way underneath it a little ways down the road, and that is not recommended. We saw the sheriff's office out here not too long ago. They even got up to this point right where this car is, and they turned around. They said, oh, no, this is scary. And that is exactly what you're supposed to do. Shout out to this driver heeding to those warnings right now and doing just that. Another warning the sheriff's office really wants you to listen to right now, if we can turn the other way and get you back to the street flooding. They really want you to pay attention to the standing water on these roads. More people are starting to go out and about across Seminole County. The sheriff says they know businesses are starting to open again. But when you are driving, thing that you are not supposed to do, speed. And here's why. Take a listen to what the sheriff said.
There is a no-wake ordinance in Seminole County, which means you will slow your vehicle down so you're not splashing waves everywhere else. Again, not only is that helpful to people who have water damage at their homes, but it's also helpful to your car because it's damaging not only to your vehicle, but it's easy to lose control of the vehicle when you do that.
Yeah, it really is. We were sitting in the car, and had we had the windows down, there was a truck that just came flying by. It was almost like we went through a car wash. I'm not even exaggerating. Speeding and going that quickly can be so dangerous for you and really just downright inconsiderate for the homes that are along these streets, the cars that may be parked here, and just even more stress for people who are in already stressful situations. I want to mention there is a lot of debris across Seminole County. County leaders, of course, recognize that. So far, they estimate there is 1 million cubic yards of debris. It's going to take some time to pick all of that up, so they just ask you to be patient. If you want them to assess some of your damage, look at some of the things and the conditions you may be dealing with, you can report any of your pictures directly to prepareseminole.org. It is accessible for your mobile device. It can work on your computer, but of course they understand many of you still don't have power. So go to prepareseminole.org, let county leaders know what you're seeing, and they will get to you as quickly as they can. Reporting live in Sanford, Christina Watkins. Summer, Jim, back to you.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. We've been getting a pretty good ground's eye view of things that are happening across Central Florida, but there's nothing like seeing things from the air.
Yeah, we've got a bird's eye view. Pat Gribben joins us now with a look.
And we just now got up in the sky over Orlando, and it didn't take us very long to find our first major significant flooding here. We're over Bishopmore High School, and the football field, as you can see, is pretty well underwater all around the track area and everything else. And then if we look into these neighborhoods, these homes behind here, they're also having some flooding issues right up to the doorway in some cases. We're kind of seeing this for the first time, but the boat docks are, the walkways to the boat docks, the little piers there are underwater. This is Lake Fairview, I believe. Yeah, Lake Fairview. So we've already seen our first pretty significant water standing in the area of College Park and around Bishopmore High School. And we're going to be slowly making our way around Metro Orlando as much as the weather will allow us, and see what else we can see.
Yeah, this is a prime example of that, the runoff situation that we've been talking about pretty much all afternoon, that rain falls everywhere, say it's a foot, and it immediately drains, water seeks its own level, so it's going to try and find other water that's lower than the same that it is itself, and if it's trapped anywhere, then it kind of stops there, and that actually makes a lot of sense that the lakes would fill up first in the streams and the lowest parts of neighborhoods, and as we're kind of looking down, and we don't actually have the best view of this from here, but this is all kind of making sense, and the critical point moving forward is, you know, how long does it stick around? Does the weather give us a break? Do we get sunshine, you know, wind, to evaporate or move some of this stuff out of the way?
Yeah, record rain. That's what we've been hearing from our meteorologists, and you know, like you said, if Mother Nature will give us a break, then maybe we can start to recover a little bit, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen right now, at least. So we're asking everyone to be patient. We want to get you out to Orange County as we continue to kind of jump around. WESH 2's Greg Fox is there with the latest.
Orlando firefighters proved to be the answer to prayers from 36 residents of this apartment community at Ventura Country Club.
These are angels sent from above. These are amazing people, and I'm so grateful for them.
Answering calls for help that began hours before sunrise Thursday as Ian drenched the region, overflowing this retention pond. A frightening sight.
Yeah, very worried because I didn't want to drown, and this is new to me, and I didn't know what to do.
Tell me, how fast did the water come in?
Oh my God, like in an hour, maybe we got a lot of water. It started like at 3 o'clock in the morning. So
what does your apartment look like?
Flooded completely.
To give themselves another access point to get into the apartment complex and also to get some of the standing water out and away from those homes, firefighters made a break in this part of the cinder block wall as well. And take a look past me there. You can see how deep the water is on those vehicles, and then of course pushing into the first floor of those apartment units. Anicia Sierra and her mother Malvina were glad to be rescued and placed on buses with others to local shelters in the middle of what firefighters described as an epic flooding problem.
You know, this is not normal to have this type of flooding here, so that's why it's immediately. That's why it's really a lot of more personnel coming in, more resources are coming in.
I need to help them out right now. It's too yeah.
Some were in tears in West Orange County during a similar and more familiar hurricane flooding rescue. Part of the Orlo Vista neighborhood was under 3 to 5 feet of water, prompting the rescue of more than 150 residents and their pets.
Because people just got their houses re-renovated from Emma. Now they're back in the same situation.
People like her are furious, saying the flooding problem with 3 nearby retention ponds was supposed to be fixed after Hurricane Irma in 2017.
I feel like the county's efforts the last 5 years have been a failure.
Yeah, it's because they said that they were fixing that and this would never happen again, because this has already happened once.
Orange County Administrator Byron Brooks tells me crews lowered the retention pond level and more water was being pumped out overnight before one pump failed. He's promising a permanent fix thanks to a $7.5 million FEMA grant.
Permanent fix is certainly expected within the next year or two. Again, the work is in design.
Work, these people say, comes too late to salvage their flooded properties. In Orange County, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
It's like a scene straight out of 2017 happening right here, all over again.
That's unbelievable. And, you know, a lot of the, we're going to take another aerial tour right now of Central Florida. I think we're heading to the Orlo Vista neighborhood right now. We just left Lake Eola, which you saw that on the ground with Amanda Dukes not too long ago, just completely underwater. It looks like, and let me just we're at the anchor desk and we've got this small monitor in front of us, so I'm going to try and do my best here, but it looks like this looks like I-4 and not many cars out on the road. It doesn't seem like they're having too bad of a time driving, but again, you know, officials are saying stay home if you can, because you never know what's going to happen. The tree could come down, there could be live wires, you just never know.
Yeah, a couple of things that we're watching for, and this will make sense once I explain it fully. But one of the big changes that happened in Central Florida since the last big hurricane that we had in 2017
you're looking down at it. It's the I-4 Ultimate project, and a lot of times these big new subdivisions, construction projects that reestablish barriers in certain neighborhoods, they don't get tested for an event like this because you can't really do that. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was check on some of these neighborhoods that are on either side of the new I-4 Ultimate project and see if that construction has affected drainage and where water is going. And we actually haven't had time to do that very much today. And then one of the other things that we wanted to do was we have a lot of new neighborhoods. I mean, just the construction that I see happening in my neighborhood every day is absolutely off the charts. And it does change the way the landscape flows and looks and is populated and all that other stuff. So these are things that we are looking forward to doing. But right now, we're just taking advantage of finally some decent weather. We've had the chopper ready to go. We just haven't been able to get it up in the air. And now we're kind of focusing down on neighborhoods that we knew have had some problems. And it looks like we are on top of it right now. Yeah, I think we had planned to fly to the Orlo Vista neighborhood, which we've talked about extensively today. And it looks like we are getting close, if not there already.
A lot of these low-lying areas, they're prone to flooding. So the people that live here, they've been through this before. They know the routine. And, a lot of these people chose to leave and some chose to stay. And that's kind of, we were talking about that. That's always, what people are trying to figure out before the storm comes. But right now, we're not seeing too much roof damage. I mean, we see that one in the middle of your screen there. But, I mean, some roads, you just never know how it's going to hit. Some roads look fine, and then you look to the right or you pan another way, and then it's completely flooded. Not too many people out on the road in this residential area, which is what you want to see. But yeah, this is just kind of what's left. You do see a little bit of debris here and there, but just a lot of flooding.
Yeah, I'm actually encouraged by what I'm seeing so far. You see the breeze still working here, and we need that. We don't need any more of the extreme conditions that we saw, but we do need the breeze, and we do need some sunshine to come out and help and dry things up. There's some debris that's washed up right about there, and these are some fancy houses. A lot of people have a lot of money invested, or people have a lot of money invested in these properties right here. We're just going to kind of follow them around and see what we see. And like Summer mentioned, look for signs of debris and ruin. And thankfully, so far, don't see much of that.
Yeah, we're just stay up in the air and just kind of, we're seeing this for the first time as you are, and so we're just going to kind of look through these neighborhoods as we go along. Pat Gribbin is our pilot. He's up there flying, and we just heard from him moments ago. And again, we think he's going to the Orlo Vista neighborhood. Darren Stolfitz was out there earlier where people were being evacuated. And again, we're just kind of looking. You do see a few blue tarps on homes there, so that lets you know that they've had some roof damage either in the past or just recently.
Orlo Vista is one of Orlando's oldest neighborhoods. Our friend Dick Batchelor, born and raised there, talks very fondly about it, and it's well, I'm going to hold that thought, and let's get to Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings for an update on the situation here in Orange County.
To flood in some of those areas. They're going to continue to have significant rain within their area for several days, no doubt. Orange County personnel this afternoon went out into the Orlo Vista area, and I will remind our public that while that was one of the hardest hit areas, it is an area that we went in prior to the storm and strongly suggested that individuals evacuate from those areas. We had some success with many of the people in that area. Some 300 plus were evacuated prior to the storm. After or during the storm itself, we went out today with our fire personnel and law enforcement personnel and evacuated additional people. We are committed to making certain that we do make some significant infrastructure improvements in the Orlo Vista area in the near future. We have applied for various FEMA grants, and Orange County remains committed to spending the dollars necessary to rectify the situation within that area. Now let me just talk more about our shelters. We opened several shelters within our county. We had great success with persons who wanted to be sheltered, who went into our shelters. We currently have approximately 1,300 people who remain in our shelters. 220 or so of those individuals are persons with special needs. I want to talk now a little bit about our utilities. Orange County utilities personnel have been really hard at work for the last several days to make certain that our pump stations continue to work, that our water services were not interrupted. And I'm happy to say that at this time we have no water service interruptions within Orange County utilities. The staff have completed initial assessments of our infrastructure and facilities for power outages and damages, as well as flooding throughout the area. Some of our wastewater pump stations are without power, and as a result, there will be intermittent service issues throughout the evening while portable generators are being installed. We're asking our customers, where possible, if you are affected in some negative way with pump stations being out, if you're in those respective areas, to curtail the use of water within those particular areas. While it is probably unlikely for wastewater emergencies such as sewage backing up into your home or the streets, please call Orange County Utilities Emergency Dispatch. You can reach them by simply dialing 311, or you can dial 407-836-2777, 407-836-2777. Residents in apartment complexes should report sewer backups to their property management companies. That would not be the responsibility of Orange County Utilities. Now let me just talk a little bit about our partners. I'm going to ask our representatives from our power companies to come forward and just share with you the latest updates and how you may be able to get service assistance. And we'll start with Duke Energy, and we'll have Ms. Sally Thielen come forward, and then from the Orlando Utilities Commission will follow at that point. Okay.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you very much. At this point, from a Duke Energy standpoint, outage-wise, we are looking at about 160,000 customers out that we serve in Orange County. That's about 41 to 42% of the county that would be out that are served by Duke Energy. We were doing a lot of damage assessment this afternoon that we were able to get out, and we've already restored 30,000 customers as of 6 p.m. So that's some new information, and probably what most people want to know is when will their power be coming back on. We will be issuing an ETR, which is an estimated time of restoration for Orange County, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. At that point, we'll let you know when the majority of the county will be back in. So we'll begin communicating that out at 10 a.m. tomorrow. As you might imagine, we still have a number of trucks that have still been impacted by some of the weather. Obviously, you've heard a lot about the flooding, so that's been challenging for our crews to gain access to some of the areas. So we'll be looking forward to doing more of that this evening, certainly with the winds diminishing and the weather moving out, and certainly we'll be at it hard overnight and in the morning. Additionally, we continue to focus on critical infrastructure from a restoration standpoint. We want to make sure that anything that is associated with emergencies, with hospitals, critical care centers, we want to make sure that we are addressing those first, and we're working very closely with local agencies to make sure we're able to do that. Additionally, we're trying to get in our large feeders so we can bring back in as many customers as possible on our transmission system here this evening, and then we will get down into the distribution level and ultimately into the neighborhood level. So ultimately, we just want to stress that we appreciate the patience of our customers. If you are out and want to text us to out 57801. You can do that just via text message or call 800-228-8485. So again, appreciate your patience. We are getting out there. We've got a large number of workforce here that's hitting the ground running. So appreciate your patience while we work as quickly and safely as we can. Now I'm going to turn it over to Janice Asani with the OUC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. I'd like to start by thanking our team, including OUC line and water technicians, as well as the many in-state and out-of-state crews who are supporting us. I'd also like to express gratitude to the first responders, members of the Emergency Operations Center, and the members of the media who have been monitoring and reporting on the storm to help keep our customers safe and informed. 13 assessment teams are actively evaluating our system and reviewing damage. Dozens more will join them tomorrow. More than 300 OUC and mutual aid resources are preparing to restore power. Today, almost 100 line techs, tree specialists, and trouble techs are working when the conditions are safe. As of 5 p.m. today, there were about 54,000 customers without power in Orlando and about 1,500 in St. Cloud, representing about 20% of our service territory. Additionally, we experienced 3 water main breaks today that have all been repaired. OUC is committed to and focused on the quick and safe restoration of power and water services to our customers. Line technicians will pause their work if wind speeds go over 35 miles per hour. The assessors will continue up to 45 miles per hour. Restoration efforts are focused on critical facilities such as hospitals, wastewater plants, fire, police station, and other emergency locations. Next, we will move to feeder distribution line repairs, and then down to lateral line repairs, and then down to individual customers. We thank our customers as we work through those stages. We're expecting a system-wide estimated time of restoration sometime late tomorrow, and we have a few safety reminders for our customers. Please remember that you should never, under any circumstance, come near a down power line, especially if they're near water, because the current passes easily through water. Also, as conditions clear and people start to bring out their generators, we implore them to be safe with all necessary precautions. And please specifically remember to never plug a generator directly into your home's outlet. Doing so could re-energize the power lines, and this could be fatal for any utility crews working to restore power. Lastly, our customers are encouraged to visit ouc.com/storm center for important information. Customers can also use our outage alert system offered in English and Spanish by texting REG to 69682 or MyOUC. Thank you and stay safe. I'm turning it back over to Mayor Demings. Thank you for having us.
All right. At this point, I'm going to ask our emergency manager to come forward, Division Chief Avery from the Orange County Fire Rescue and on the Office of Orange County Emergency Management. She can talk to you about some of the remaining shelter operations that we have, as well as what's going on in our Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you. All right, good evening. So I am Orange County Emergency Manager Lorelei Avery, and although this storm is quickly, thankfully, leaving our state, we are still very actively engaged in restoring Orange County communities back to normal. So we are fully engaged in monitoring our shelters, monitoring the weather, monitoring anything and everything that our citizens need. I have a full emergency operations center. Everybody's still working very hard. So again, it's beautiful out right now, thankfully. But just remember, we've got a full team in the emergency operations center that'll be working around the clock tonight to make sure we meet the needs of our community. So please stay safe. Thank you. If you want me to introduce our National Guard.
Oh, you can. I won't do them like that tonight, but let me just say this. If we have any questions from our Spanish-speaking media, if we need to interpret, I have one of my special assistants here, Ms. Ilia Torres, who can handle the interpretation for us tonight. Do we have any questions? Okay. Yes.
This one's in English.
In English, all right.
Given the assessment of everything that's been shared and what you've seen, how do you feel the response has been for this hurricane compared to the previous ones?
And, you know, overall, I would say that our team has responded very well. We've been very proactive, but each crisis that I've been involved in over the last 40-plus years, I can tell you, you always learn something. It's never perfect. We do strive for perfection, but in this instance, we plan for the worst and hope for the best. In this case, we had some better outcomes. The storm did not, fortunately for us, maintain the strength that it had when it was went over South Florida, and so that boded well for us here within this community. But we still had some significant challenges for many of our residents here, and we'll continue to have some of those challenges. So we just ask for our community to be patient, to be understanding during this period of time as we continue to try to deliver quality service to our residents. So with that, any other questions?
I do have one question for you, Mayor. It's a text question. This is from Ryan Giuseppe at the Orlando Sentinel. He asks, for the flooded areas, is there a boil water order in place, or will there be one?
Okay, so the question is, do we have any boil water orders in place at this time? No, we're pretty fortunate because we did not lose any of our water service during this period of time, and so there are no boil water notices at this point. We hope it continues to be that way for our service area both, and I think in the OUC and the Orange County Utilities area we don't have any boil water notices. So, all right. If there are no other questions, let me just say thank you to all of you for coming out tonight. We will likely give an update sometime tomorrow. You'll hear more about that, about the time of the potential press briefing tomorrow. And we'll return to our Emergency Operations Center and do the work that needs to be done. Thank you.
Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings and his team giving us an update on the situation in Orange County. The thing that stuck out to me was the talk about restoring power. There's some big numbers in Orange County overall, but several companies serve Orange County. OUC and FPL, Duke Power are the ones that come to mind, and they've restored just in the last 24 hours another 30,000 people, and still have a ways to go, but like the mayor said, no plan is perfect, but he felt like they prepared very well and are still executing that plan.
And still have a ways to go. What you're seeing on the right of your screen here, Chopper 2 is still up in the air. This is in the area near UCF, and it looks like we've been...
University and Rouse Road. It's a nursing home.
Okay, we're being told University Boulevard and Rouse Road. There is a nursing home there that we believe is being evacuated right now, and you're looking at the live pictures right here. Just moments ago, we saw some people on small boats being rescued and taken somewhere. It looked like one of the women she was in a wheelchair actually, and right now, I mean, they're just trying to get these people out of here, and you can see why. It looks about knee-deep water. This is, again, near UCF on Rouse Rouse Road and University Boulevard.
So there's a little cluster of healthcare facilities for older people in this area. There's at least 3 of them that I know of. One of them is the Bridge at Orlando, and then another one is the Life Care Center of Orlando. We're not sure which one it is, but that's kind of the way the business works in this area. There are also a couple of retention ponds, and I keep pointing that out because that's existing water, and water does tend to seek out water. But you see the full-scale operation that's underway. I mean, those are some big trucks. That's heavy equipment, and the scene down there of the boat. Yeah, that's the one. And they're basically just walking these people out because that's a lot of folks in a flatbed boat like that. So they want to make sure that thing stays steady, and
if you have to, I mean, you have to feel for these people. Some of them are dressed in robes, and they have their nurses in there.
You can only imagine how they feel. I mean, they're in there and they're trapped. You know, so fortunately, people have been preparing for this, and so we had crews, National Guardsmen and women who were ready to go to help out. But I mean, this is just obviously not a situation you would want to be in or you want your loved ones in. But you can see the response is huge right now. I'm looking at the map, and I'm really hard pressed to see any large bodies of water. So I mean, you know, the rain totals, we were just talking to Tony a moment ago, and he said in the last 48 hours, I think just 6 to 12 inches of rain. But you know, what we're seeing there seems to be a lot more than that, Jim.
Yeah, it's actually spread to both sides of the road. It's on the other side of Rouse Road, and there are some canals that are in that area that are that connect some of the waterways, and it just looks like they got a whole lot of rain, and it's overwhelmed any kind of drainage plans that are already in place. But I mean, look at these cars. They're up to the trunk line. I mean, this is a devastating scene that we're looking at right now, and this is water that doesn't look like it's. Yeah.
No, is this the Arden Villa?
This is an apartment complex. Yeah, Arden Villas. That name may ring a bell with you, but yeah, look at that. Yeah. And I don't know that those vehicles.
And they're waving and smiling.
Yeah, if they meant for them to be up against the building like that or wedged in between those trees, probably not.
Like parking spots, like they just park there maybe overnight, and then, you know, here we are.
So, and Tony, this is kind of your neck of the woods too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting because you know, my kids are out and about. They're shooting videos and they're taking them to me. For whatever reason, my subdivision is just a little bit higher, but there's water all around where we live. We put together, now that we've had a chance to kind of get a little bit of a break and let you guys do what you do with the video after a storm, I want to take a look.